Hello and welcome back everyone, we Weeb Online, and today I'm gonna continue the series What If Fem Orochimaru Was Not Obsessed with Naruto Part 7. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a big thumbs up, and to watch more videos like this, subscribe to my channel and turn that bell notification on so you never miss an upload. Now wasting no more time, let's begin.
I sat in a dark office with only his anger and a half-empty bottle of whiskey for company. He was thinking about what he had done that could only be called an uprising. She used medical ninjutsu to knock him out, and then he and Darui got their Raikage out of a village by sneaking. As if he were a disobedient child instead of the leader of their army. As if that wasn't bad enough, they said that both B and Ujito planned to give up so that no one would try to kill him. They had taken his brother. His enemies thought he was a weakling, and the people he trusted the most hurt him. He should have killed both of them, but he didn't. He still could, because he wanted to. He didn't care about their reasons because it wasn't their job to question or challenge him. They did what he said. And to think that he thought Darui would take his place in the future. What was he thinking? How could he keep either of them around if he couldn't trust them? I sucked hard on the glass bottle. The burn from the alcohol was just a side note. He would have to hold off for now. His first try failed in a big way, and B gave Konoha a lot of power. But it wouldn't matter, because Konoha would fall no matter what his stupid brother said. He would have to be clever, wait for the right moment. He'd also need a friend who was very good at being sneaky. Nabui, yelled I in a drunken way. From the door, she said, "Yes, Raikage-sama. I need you to write a letter and send it as soon as possible," he told his assistant as she walked into his office with a pen and a notepad. I took a moment to think and try to figure out how to get all fence-sitter to join his cause. As she sat down in her office chair, Tsunade said, "Oh." She was glad to be back where she was used to being. The trip back wasn't long, but it was hard because Ujito, the female container, kept giving Naruto dirty looks. He did the right thing by ignoring her, but the Godame wanted to use his fists or feet to send her back to Kumo. B's constant rapping was the only thing that was worse than Ujito's angry look. Everything turned into rap. Everything. Again, she had to give her surrogate nephew credit because he didn't seem to mind the big man's strange way of showing emotion. Either of those could be fixed, but Tsunade was also worried about her friend. Orochi had been tamed by the time they got back. Not quiet, but definitely flat. It was clear that she was upset, so it wasn't a surprise that she asked Koharu to join them. So, two of the three women sat down while they waited for Orochi to begin. So, Orochi said, "I might need your help planning a wedding. Guest lists, decorations, the whole thing. I've never really thought about it, so I'm kind of at a loss. Do you think Naruto-kun would have some ideas? I don't think wedding planning is high on the list of concerns for men of any age, but I really don't know." When she was done, Orochimaru looked up to see surprised faces looking at her. "What? Details, girl? We need details," Koharu exclaimed. "Not much to say, really, once we got to know each other again." "I bangin'," Tsunade said, but he wasn't heard. "He told me he loved me, found out I was pregnant, and gave me a ring before going after I," Orochi said as she calmly went over the events. Koharu said to Orochi-chan, "You make it sound like a mission report. When you said yes, what did he say?" "I haven't said yes yet," Tsunade asked with a worried look on her face. "Do you have any doubts? If you do, you don't have to do it." "Hyukuku, no, that's not it. He was in mission mode, so it wasn't the time, and I was wondering how long I had to plan. I don't want to be huge in my wedding photos," she said. She didn't like how the other women in the room were acting. "Stop grinning like idiots," Tsunade teased. "Don't act like that, Orochi-chan. Yes, if we're going to plan this, be nice. It's good to remember that sometimes you can act like a girl. Just know that I'm not going to sew your kimono. Tsunade will do that." "With what time and what skills?" Tsunade asked. "You're retired and her mother, so the responsibility would fall on you. And as her surrogate sister, I say do it or I'll cane you." "I'll just take it to a tailor," said Orochi. "No, we can't take the chance that you'll be a bridezilla and tear someone in half," Tsunade said. "Give me some credit. I haven't done any random acts of violence in months." Tsunade looked blankly at her best friend and said, "I rest my case. I agree with Tsunade-chan, so she'll take care of it. While we're talking, maybe you should tell your young man that his idea has been accepted." Orochi nodded and left. Once Orochi was out of earshot, Koharu's smile turned into a hard mask as she looked Tsunade in the eyes. Koharu told Tsunade, "You have a tough choice to make." Tsunade didn't ask what the choice was because she already knew. The Godame turned away from her longtime mentor to look at the village. Kakashi was happy to get back to his apartment. Since he left ANBU, this trip had been hard in a way he hadn't felt before. With so many high-ranking ninja in one place, something bad was bound to happen, and it looked like I really wanted to make trouble. The copy ninja couldn't believe I really ran away because he was afraid of them. There was more to the story, but the truth didn't matter much. The story that would come out of the Chunin exams would be about I running away from Konoha's group and his brother pleading with the Raikage to save his life. It would lead to trouble in the long run. Obito said, "Hey, Kakashi," from the couch. Kakashi smiled at his roommate with his eyes. The first time they saw each other was awkward. He was angry at Obito for taking Minato-sensei away and hurting Sasuke and Naruto, but he mostly just felt bad for his friend. It was just too much to have seen Rin die and for Madara Uchiha, of all people, to break down. Kakashi knew why he was done with the world. He also knew what it was like to want to be saved, even though he knew it was unlikely to happen. They had grown and changed too much to keep doing the same things, but Kakashi felt better having his old friend around. Obito had a long way to go, but Kakashi wasn't going to leave him. Obito moved over so Kakashi could sit next to him on the couch and asked, "How was Suna?" Kakashi then told what had happened, including how the ambush had been stopped and how Kurabi and Yujito had arrived. Obito was amused. The piece of trash left. "You couldn't have been paid enough for that." "No, I didn't," Kakashi said, rubbing the one eye that could be seen. "Things are going to get bad, and I'm not ready to send my kids to war, especially since I might not be there to watch over them," Kakashi admitted. Obito only nodded. Since one of his students is a Jonin and the others are experienced Chunin, Kakashi is likely to be called away to do more important or specialized work. "Don't talk so much about the future that you don't hear what the present has to say," Obito warned. Obito, you're going to have to get used to sounding all wise and stuff," Obito said, "Ha ha ha," which was a joke. Failures and mistakes usually make us the wisest, if we live long enough to learn from them. We know what not to do. Kakashi didn't correct his old teammate because he knew that even when others told him otherwise, he often thought of himself as a failure. "So, can I borrow some of that hard-won knowledge?" Obito said. "I can try, but I can't promise anything." "How are you?" "What's up is that I can't for the life of me figure out why the Raikage seems to dislike Naruto so much. If things go badly, I have no doubt he'll have hit squads for most of the next generation. But there's something about Naruto that really bothers the man, and I can't figure out why." Obito asked, "Is that because he saw Sensei as a rival?" Kakashi nodded. "Like with many broken boys, you have to look to the father, Kakashi. From what Zetsu told me, Ai's strength leveled off after his father died, which means he probably never got stronger than the man. And since he thinks you rule and govern through strength, what does he think of himself?" Kakashi asked the Uchiha, interrupting him. "Maybe or in some way, not worthy. But what does that have to do with Naruto? Ai was strong, but he wasn't thought to be the strongest Kage of his time. He also wasn't able to set the tone for his time." "Who was?" "Sandaime-sama," Kakashi said, putting together a full picture with his genius-level mind. "Ai gets a report from Rasa warning him about a ninjutsu prodigy who has mastered all 5 elements and is making new jutsus left and right. He is a great weapon user with a great lineage, and Ai thinks Naruto could have been his Hiruzen. Yeah, and the Sandaime didn't have the strongest of the Biju sealed in him. If Naruto were just strong or fast like Sensei, I probably wouldn't look up to him as much as he does. But you know how hard it is to make one original jutsu. Who knows how many Naruto actually has? Ai sees the next god of shinobi before he reaches maturity, and sees a way to finally overtake his father." This when he got no response, he looked up to see Kakashi staring at him blankly. "What? Until the end? You sounded really smart, you dumbass." "Shut up, Kaka team. You know I'm right. I don't read any books where men want to screw their moms, and I've read some wild porn in my time." "I didn't know you got it like that, Obito," Kakashi teased. Obito complained by making a noise. "I'm talking psychology." Ma, I don't kink shame, Obito." Obito asked, "Stupid, one-eyed jerk, what do you want for lunch?" as he went to the kitchen. "Oh, I'm not picky. Just don't poke out an eye, or people might wonder what you like." Obito didn't say anything, but Kakashi could see the muscles in his neck tense up in irritation. He didn't laugh. Instead, he chose to enjoy his victory in silence. Yujito looked around the Hidden Leaf Village and didn't find anything at all appealing about it. The leaves were too green and the trees were too tall. The people didn't have enough discipline for a military base. A sneak attack would probably cause a lot of chaos. She was upset even by the air. Was there too much of it? Too simple. In the Kumo Mountains, the air was thinner and it was hard to breathe. But at this level, everything was just given to you. The voice of Konoha's weapon said, "Here we are." He showed them where they would be staying by pointing to the one-story brick and wood house. "Since you are a guest of the Uzumaki clan, it made sense for you to stay on our land," he said. Yujito hated how comfortable he was around them, as if 2 of Kumo's best couldn't hurt him. He was so proud that he even took off the seals he had put on them. That thought made her remember being paralyzed and unable to breathe in the deserts of Wind Country. She made a fist and tried to push the memory out of her mind. As guests, you'll be able to go anywhere in Konoha that's open to the public. If you want to train, we have private grounds, or I can set something up if you give me enough notice. Of course, you should stay out of restricted areas and don't cause trouble in general. As a gesture of goodwill, Tsunade-sama will send you a team of NBU helpers. Helpers? Yujiro asked in disbelief. Yes, if you need something and I can't help, they will, Naruto said with a smile. We're a friendly bunch in Konoha, we'll have fire and all that. Yujiro didn't like it, just like he didn't like anything else about this village. They were hostages, and they couldn't fool Kurabi or her by acting like they weren't. 9-0 wants to be friends with the Killa. If you add Miss 2, it's a big thrill. Fool, you fool, B said, slapping his bicep to emphasize. Naruto said, see, Kurabi gets it. You two can settle in, and then he shunshined away. The two guardians of Kumo walked into their temporary home. Yujiro looked around carefully, while Kurabi just sat down on the couch and fell asleep. But before he could really settle down, Juki asked him to do something. Hey, Mr. 8, how are you doing? No, that's not it at all. Kurabi, what do you know about that boy? Not much, but he respects the groovy flow. What else do I need to know? On the way back, Nibai and I talked to the Kyuubi. The boy's chakra reminds me of someone who was very powerful before the time of the shinobi. I also think he has my brother's full cooperation. He's dangerous, Kurabi. Maybe, but none will be none if we don't start. How likely is it that your brother will change his mind? Big brother will see the light and do what's right to protect Kumo. War with the leaves isn't the vibe, so why fight with jutsu or weapon gripping? We need new tricks up our sleeves and new beliefs. As B kept talking to Juki, Naruto was talking to his own Biju. So, how did it go when you talked to Nibai and Hachibai? As he walked through his land, Naruto asked, who are you? I think my message got across, but over the years, both of them have become cocky because they always talk back. That's not a nice thing to say, Kurama. Naruto told Kurama, they're your siblings, not your employees, so it wouldn't hurt to be a little nicer to them, Titebeo. Kurama huffed before answering. Maybe, but they needed to see how pointless it was to attack us, and if I have to be unpleasant now to avoid being even more unpleasant later, I think that's a sacrifice worth making. Okay, Naruto said as he approached the Uzumaki Manor, but I don't want you to push them away if you don't have to. If Kurabi and Yujiro try anything, then that's what it is. Did you three talk about anything else important? Naruto asked after a short pause. Kurama, there's something I need to tell you, something that annoying squid saw even though I hoped he wouldn't. Okay, what's up? We'll take care of it, whatever it is. You know my father, Hagoromo, and you know that he made us, but what you don't know is that he had 2 real sons, Kurama said, but he was quickly cut off. Naruto told Kurama, you and the other 8 Biju are his real children. That's not because of your genes, but because of the bonds you made. Kurama would never admit it, but he was very happy to hear those words. Fine, I have 2 biological sons, Indra and Asura. Indra was thought to be a genius because he invented the hand signs that are still used in modern ninjutsu. He was so smart that he stopped asking for help and started to solve his own problems on his own. Asura, the younger brother, was a mess as a child, and Hagoromo tried to teach him everything. But Asura was great at making friends, and he never met a stranger. When it was time to choose Ninchu's successor, Hagoromo gave his 2 sons a final test. Asura passed, but Indra didn't. This made Indra angry and resentful, which led to a feud between brothers that lasted for generations and ended only when Madara and Hashirama built this village. Indra was the ancestor of the Uchiha, and Asura was the ancestor of the Senju and Uzumaki. Since Indra and Asura both died before settling their feud, it is possible that each would leave a mark on one of their descendants, Kurama said. Like being reborn, Naruto asked. Transmigration, as the influence of either brother is more like an echo than each brother fully inhabiting another body, and the effect is most clear when each transmigrant interacts with the other. Do you remember when you started to accept the darker parts of yourself? You couldn't open that door. Naruto replied, yes. After the Land of Iron and his fight with Jiraiya, what the Panthers did to him was very memorable and just what he needed. My dad told me I couldn't open the door because the time hadn't come yet, and it might never come. Kurama said, I think the door is meant to hold Asura's echo, and your father is right that it would take more than a simple ritual or training to open it. Alright, so how can Hachibai say this? How come you didn't tell me? Why did Naruto ask? He wasn't mad, he was just curious. All of the training you've done, pushing your chakra in ways no one else has made it stronger and brought its signature closer to that of Asura. Not only is it very powerful, but it's also almost perfectly balanced. In this day and age, Naruto, that doesn't happen very often. But doesn't all of that prove that your own point is wrong? You said Asura was a mess, but ever since I started training myself seriously, I've been ahead of the game. Naruto said, yes, I had trouble, but I was trying things that I shouldn't have been able to do at that age. Oh, the crease. At first, it was hard for you to do well at the academy. The lectures were too long and slow, and the explanations were not written in a way that helped you understand. If you had only or mostly relied on the academy, I think you wouldn't be able to reach your full potential until now, and even then, you might not have gotten as far as you have. Hagoromo trained Asura, and when he couldn't do it himself, he told his servants how to do it. My dad was a good person, but he wasn't perfect. Hagoromo may not have known how to really train Asura, just like your academy teachers didn't know what you needed. So if I'm a transmigrant, everything I can do is because of that. Was everything I did and everything I said about how anyone could have broken down these barriers a lie? Why? Naruto asked, sounding really upset. No, you fool. Kurama yelled. Your partner shows that sub-ailments can be learned, or have you forgotten that? Naruto laughed and said, yeah, I did say Titebeo. Idiot. You had your good points, no doubt. You were born with more chakra than most people, and my presence made that even better so you could train for longer. But because you were with me, your chakra was more yin than yang. This made it hard for you to do schoolwork until you started balancing your chakra. Naruto, you worked hard to get where you are now. Minato, Asura, or I have nothing to do with that. Naruto said, thanks, Kurama, and Kurama replied with a huff. Naruto was learning that he did that when he didn't want to admit he was happy or moved. So, if I'm a transgender person, what does that mean for Nibai and Hachibai? Compared to Indra and Asura, Madara and Hashirama were like children. Even a small sign of familiarity with Hachibai shows that you are strong enough to beat him in Nibai. Since we were able to talk freely, it means I will help you in any way I can. Hachibai is worried because he knows that his annoying container couldn't beat us. Naruto told the Biju, okay, that all makes sense, but you still haven't told me why you didn't tell me you thought this. It didn't seem relevant. If you were Asura's transmigrant, you've shown you can't get to what's inside you, and I don't know how to either. Also, you didn't know any of the other Uchiha, so the rivalry was either over with Madara and Hashirama, since who else could it have been? So there was nothing to worry about, or something took you off track, so it doesn't matter. So, you're saying there's a world where I'm crazy about Sasuke or another Uchiha instead of being mind-blowingly awesome. It would have been silly to do that. If that's how you want to see it, I won't argue with you, but I won't agree with you either, Kurama said in response. You know you love me, Kurama. Naruto teased, but before the fox could get angry, he went on. I get why you didn't tell me. It's interesting, but not the most useful information. And Naruto Uzumaki, the Crimson Maelstrom, and I choose my own path. Sure you do, Tomato Head, Kurama teased back, knowing that it would make his stupid container angry. Why you? If you don't take that back, I'll come in and beat you up, Databeo. I'd like to see you try, Pipsqueak. I'm going to chew on you. Kurama barked. Hyukuku, having a private conversation, Naruto-kun, Orochi said from behind. Naruto smiled as he turned toward them. He had been talking to Kurama so much that he had stopped at the door and stopped paying full attention to his surroundings. He replied, something like that, and then thought, we'll finish this little conversation later, Kurama. I'm looking forward to it, welp, Kurama said, then stopped talking. After Naruto finished talking with his lifelong friend, he picked up Orochi and kissed her. Hey, he said as he let go of her and opened the door. I wasn't expecting to see you so soon. Well, we need to talk, do we not? Orochi asked rhetorically. Naruto nodded and led her to the living room, where they always sat together on the couch. Naruto was quiet as he watched Orochi pull out a pen and paper from nowhere. Alright, a few things. One, I'll be showing soon, and if anyone touches my stomach, I'll kill them, she said. Could I get you to settle for a maiming? Perhaps a hard beating. I'll kill them, Naruto-kun, so if you want to protect them, it's up to you. Second, all of my lab equipment is at my manor, but I'd probably spend most of my free time here. Naruto said, I can dig tunnels to your labs or have some clones build you labs here. Another thing, about where we live. There are two. I don't think many people will want to buy mine, and I don't want to. Well, this is all up to you, but traditionally there can only be one heir. If we have more than one child, the second child might want their own room to grow up in. Even though I'm not the heir, here's a big house. Hyukuku, Naruto-kun, Are you trying to leave me barefoot and in the kitchen? I never knew you were like that. I think you'd agree, Orochi-chan, that some of my best work is done in the kitchen, Naruto said. Yes, but I won't become an Uzumaki baby mill no matter what. In that case, how many children do you want? Orochi asked, and Naruto gave him a shrug. To be honest, I didn't think we could have a number, so I don't have one in mind. So, I don't know. The Snake Sannin was surprised by this. But you've always wanted a family, so why didn't you think I could help? Not having kids wasn't a problem, and I knew your age, so I knew that being with you meant facing some facts. It wasn't like he gave up a lot. I could teach, adopt, or do anything else. Even though I'm thrilled that we're going to have a baby together, it was never a deal breaker. I want you, Orochi-chan. We could have figured out everything else when the time came. For his answer, Naruto got a quick kiss on the cheek, which happened so quickly and went unnoticed that he could have been forgiven for not believing it. I would like some yuzu trees. I like the taste and smell of the fruit. My feet get cold at night, so I'll put them on or under you to warm them up. I don't think you'll mind. Anko and I have tea together twice a week. If you let her into your home, it will be hard to get rid of her. Be kind to her. That's possible. Anything else? Naruto asked. I'm sure there will be, but we'll have a lifetime to figure them out, Orochi said as she took the ring box out of her kimono, opened it, and put the ring on. I'm looking forward to it, Naruto said, gently pulling his future wife closer. They shared a quiet moment, each looking forward to their future together. The moment ended when Orochi felt Naruto's chest rumble and heard him laugh. When she turned to her fiancé, he was smiling brightly. Since you said yes, I guess it's time to pay your bride price, Naruto said. Not even the daimyo do that anymore, Naruto-kun, and I don't think you can pay for me anyway. Well, let's call it an engagement gift then, he said as he took a scroll out of his kunai holster. Naruto unrolled the scroll and took out a single item. He gave it to Orochi and laughed at her confusion. What is that? She asked in disbelief. Orochi-chan, this is only the first step, Naruto said as he formed a Rasengan in his hand. This is a gift, but you have to earn it. Once you do, you'll have this. As soon as Naruto finished the jutsu, Orochi was on him, with her tongue in his mouth and her hands in his red hair. She could feel herself being pulled closer as Naruto wrapped his arms around her thin body. A deep voice from the doorway said, Yuwa, get a room. The newly engaged couple split up, but Orochi didn't leave Naruto's lap as she glared at her fellow Sannin. Naruto told Jiraiya, technically, every damn room in this house is my room. Yeah, well, look, seeing you with her didn't leave a mark on my mind, but your Nara teammate is coming to the door. Just as Jiraiya said, Shikamaru is here, there was a quick knock on the door. Okay, that's strange. I'm probably going to have to go, Naruto said as he looked up at his future wife. Can we keep talking later? She nodded as she slid off his lap, and another hard knock was heard. Jiraiya, could you please show her how to do the first step of the Rasengan? Naruto asked for it, and Jiraiya didn't say no, which surprised Orochi. Jiraiya replied wistfully, you move faster than even your father, and he wanted to marry Kushina after their first date. Naruto smiled at him and told him, counterclockwise, Jiraiya. Then he left. So, are we going to do this now? Jiraiya asked without any excitement. What did Naruto-kun mean when he said against the clock? Jiraiya said, it's how your chakra is set up. When you start making the Rasengan, it should go counterclockwise. How was he able to know that? The easiest way to tell is to look at the way your hair grows on top of your head. Orochi, does Naruto often see the top of your head? Jiraiya asked with a hint. Orochi shot back, infinitely more than you've ever seen of Tsunade's, knowing he'd lost this round. When Naruto stormed out of the door during Shikamaru's third attempt to knock, he said, troublesome. How are you? Naruto asked. Kurenai-sensei is in the hospital, it's time, Shikamaru said. He then felt Naruto grab his shoulder and was suddenly in front of the hospital. That was weird, the Nara said as he and Shikamaru ran to the maternity ward. Naruto was the last one there and was glad he'd made it back today. Shino said, Naruto. Shino, he said back. After that, Naruto couldn't remember much about what they talked about while they waited for news. He wondered how Asuma was doing and if he'd be a good partner for Orochi-chan. A little over an hour later, Asuma came back to the waiting room to tell everyone that Mirai Sarutobi had arrived. It was another 20 minutes before the young men of Team Kurenai were allowed to see their sensei and her baby. As they were led into the room, they saw a clearly tired and happy Kurenai holding her baby girl. She has a lot in common with you, sensei. I guess so, but I also see a lot of Asuma in her, Kurenai said softly. I'm glad all three of you could be here for this new member of our family. When I see the three of you, there are so many things I hope you can teach Mirai-chan about yourselves. Asuma and I went back and forth about who should be Mirai's godfather, but I couldn't decide between you three, so I hope you don't mind sharing the job. With a big smile, Naruto said, "Of course, sensei." Shino said, "It would make sense." "It wouldn't be hard," agreed Shikamaru. "Excellent. I know that if you three keep an eye on her, she'll be a very happy and safe little girl. Yes, she'll be able to do S-rank genjutsu tricks before she leaves the academy. Uzumaki Naruto, you won't teach Mirai-chan any S-rank techniques before she becomes a chunin, do you understand? What if it's an S-rank light? Like barely S-rank? Do you understand me?" "Yes, sensei," he said, as two of his teammates laughed. "Don't laugh, you two, I expect the same from each of you. No advanced techniques for tracking and killing, Shino. But they will be so helpful." "Why? Don't worry about it, just wait until she's done with school." "And Shikamaru, what on earth could I do?" "Oh, I see how you made Choji and Ino do what you wanted them to do. No neurolinguistic programming until I say so." Shikamaru said, "What a drag," but he stopped when his sensei gave him a stern look. "Fine, I won't. But you have to admit that out of the three of us, Naruto was most likely the one to teach her something wrong." Shino agreed, saying, "Yes, of course," said Kurenai, making a cloud of sadness form over Naruto's head. He whined, "I'm not that bad," which made everyone laugh again. Naruto soon joined in, taking in this perfect moment and hoping it would last. Zetsu waited for the new tool he might get. The being didn't know if it was hot or cold and didn't care. He was Kaguya's real child and her divine will. His only goal was to help her get back home. He thought that making Hagoromo's two sons fight would be something she would like. He thought that the boy would get his own Rinnegan by trying to get Indra to give in to his darkness. He'd been wrong. And because he was wrong and didn't think far enough ahead, he kept his mother from coming back. Madara showed him that the Rinnegan needed both parts of the sage lineage and probably the strongest or purest expressions available. Both the Senju and the Uchiha were almost dead. Nagato was a strong Uzumaki, which is the only reason he was able to use those eyes. But those eyes were sealed away. Zetsu really risked disappointing his mother. He thought he needed not only Sasuke, but also the Kyuubi's container and a doctor who knew how to put the Kyuubi's DNA into Sasuke's. He told Shino to kill the two boys, but he didn't think the man would actually do it. He wanted to hurt them so he could take them away, but Shino didn't work at all. So, he decided to try to get another weak being to do what he wanted. It was so simple. People could act like they had high ideals, but in the end, their desires were what drove them. If he knew what they wanted, it would be easy to get them to do what he wanted. Even though their whole culture was based on lying and trickery, they could be persuaded by such small goals. Zetsu didn't move when he heard the grass move because he could feel the shinobi coming. As he took off the hood of his cloak, the moonlight caught on his eyeglasses. "I guess Zetsu," the cocky boy said. Zetsu agreed, "Kabuto Yakashi." Both Kaguya's will and Orochimaru's former best spy looked at each other for a long time, not wanting to give the other even the slightest advantage. Kabuto was the one who said something. "You asked me to meet you very quietly, but I don't understand why. I was told to do one thing, and your head gets me back to where I want to be." "Does it?" Zetsu asked. "Even if you and your group beat me, I think you'd find some surprising changes in Konoha. And as long as Uzumaki Naruto is alive, you'll never get your Orochimaru back. She'll always be his." Zetsu felt the boy's anger rise when he was reminded of the person he probably hated the most in the world. "What could you do about that? Or should I ask what I need to do to get your help?" "What I want is very simple. I need a living tissue sample from Uzumaki Naruto to be implanted into Uchiha Sasuke. And I need time to watch how that goes. I would give you the tools to do that and get rid of the Uzumaki for good. The boy may be strong for his age, but he is nothing compared to the legends of the past. Do you know the Edo Tensei, Kabuto?" "Yes, Orochimaru taught me a version of it." Zetsu's smile didn't help Kabuto feel better as the man made the ram sign and tree roots came up from the ground carrying a casket. Zetsu walked over to the casket and opened it without getting upset. The fossil didn't seem to impress Kabuto. "Who could this be?" Zetsu told the spy, "The real Uchiha Madara." Kabuto looked at Zetsu in disbelief. "But it is," Zetsu told the medic to reassure him. "Agree to work with me, and I'll give you Madara himself. With him under your control, you can't fail to kill the Uzumaki. What do you say?" Zetsu asked, but he assumed the answer was obvious. "All this for you to get Uchiha Sasuke-kun. That doesn't make much sense, Zetsu-san. I have no reason to go back to Konoha and I don't know what Sasuke's mission assignments are." "I'm sorry, Kabuto, I thought you were smart. If going into your own village and kidnapping one jounin is too hard for you, then I've come to the wrong person," Zetsu said, his voice threatening. Now, threats aren't necessary. I'd be happy to help and get rid of that red-haired blight," Kabuto said as he adjusted his glasses. Zetsu looked at the boy with a smug expression, as if he'd never get to enjoy his small victory over the Uzumaki. When the procedure was done, he would kill Kabuto. Good, since your team is working so hard to find me, I'll lead you back to Konoha. You take care of the rest. Zetsu and Madara's bodies fell to the ground without saying anything else. Kabuto wasn't surprised when the former Akatsuki didn't give Madara to them right away. The doctor was calm and didn't mind. He would find the legendary Uchiha and then use that person to kill Zetsu and Naruto. He knew Orochimaru would be angry at first, but he knew he could make her see sense. He would show her how far she had gone from her true self, and then everything would go back to normal. It was only a question of time. Understand, I said. I don't want to send you. I don't really trust you. Konoha has my brother because of you. But Onoki can't tell there's trouble in our ranks, and now that Dodai is gone, you are all I have. I get it, Darui said with a stiff body and focused eyes. Any chance of being casual was gone, and only the most formal behavior was allowed. Even stray rays of sunlight couldn't be seen because it was still early. Darui was aware, and even more important, he was happy to be able to leave. She and he had said everything they could about themselves. The ambush set up by Ai didn't work, so they had to move on. Even if Kurabi and Yujito were there, they couldn't be expected to fight 2/3 of the Sannin. Hadate Kakashi, Uzumaki Naruto, and possibly Gaara of the desert in the desert. Darui even said that Kurabi wouldn't have sacrificed himself if he thought the Abi team could have won. I wouldn't listen to it. The Raikage was sure that Kurabi was trying to avoid a fight, as he always did. Even though they were strong, the Konoha army and the boy Cage who ran Suna would not have been enough. He was full of pride and smelled like he had been drinking when he said that no advantage they had could beat his lightning armor. Darui said that Isama never thought that his lone technique made him invincible. I lost his temper and punched through a wall, missing Darui's head by a hair. When the two Kumo elites looked at each other, I was furious and Darui was almost as angry. He was loyal, but he wasn't a coward and wouldn't let I treat him any way he wanted. He lived for Kumo and would die for Kumo, but he was first and foremost a man. Not some boy, not some sycophant, but a man, and he wouldn't have it any other way. Mabui stepped in before the situation got out of hand, and Darui hadn't talked to the Raikage again until this briefing. You are to arrive within 5 days and stay for no more than a week. I expect you to be able to tell if Onoki is serious or not. Do not promise him anything and tell me everything when you get back. Do not fail me. Dismissed, I yelled. Darui went away quietly. As three blurs fought violently with their weapons, they could be heard clanging and moving quickly. After the last attack, two of them split off from one and watched their common enemy. Shikamaru held his tanto backwards, with his knees slightly bent, ready to move at the smallest sign of trouble. Shino had two sais ready to go and they were only a foot apart. Naruto smiled as he spun his metal nunchaku and looked at his two teammates. They were getting a little short of breath, but he wouldn't stop. It had been a good performance. He showed Shino how fast he was by rushing up to him, and then he attacked. Clang, clang, swoosh clang. As the Aburame blocked, deflected, and dodged, sounds were made. Shikamaru sneaked up on Naruto from behind and viciously slashed at his neck, but Naruto's well-timed back kick stopped him in his tracks. Naruto planted his kicking foot and turned to avoid Shino's double thrusts. He then hit back with more swings, but none of them hit the target. Naruto could see both of his attackers, so he brought one end of each nunchaku together and used his chakra to turn them into a short spear. Shikamaru spoke. Yes, Shikamaru. Does it bother you that a shadow clone is pushing us so hard and Naruto is just using that clone to train with his cotton? Yes, it does, because a shadow clone is, by definition, only a small part of its creator's overall skills and power. Also, why should he get to spend our team's practice time with his girlfriend? Fiancé, why are we here with this annoying clone? Shino asked. Long distance getting to you, Shikamaru. Shikamaru could hear the joke in Shino's voice, even though it didn't change at all. Shikamaru replied, cold showers are a pain, since he hadn't seen Temari in weeks. Shino said, I wouldn't know. I dislike both of you. Oi, stop talking and start fighting. The real Naruto said as he sat under a tree. And Orochimaru tried to pop the water balloon between his legs. Shika and Shino answered with a single finger gesture, and Naruto was happy to see his clone keep attacking. He turned back to his fiancée, who was paying close attention to the water balloon in her right hand. Orochi-chan, I'm worried that you've stopped concentrating and are now thinking about the nature of that water balloon in an existential way. He joked. In response, she let out a small laugh. Maybe so, but this jutsu is annoying. It should be easy, but even though I know what I should do, I can't do it. You're probably smarter than you think you are, Naruto said as he thought about her lack of progress. Since you know what needs to be done, you're trying to do it all at once. Basically, your genius brain is making this harder for you. Be more like Jiraiya, Naruto said. "Oh my gosh, Naruto-kun, right in front of your teammates." "Kinky boy," she purred and felt something move against her back. Naruto said, "Not that's what I meant, Tebeo." He took a quick look back at his friends and clone and saw that his bunshin had changed from the short spear to a Kusarigama because it was only fighting Shino because Shika had given up. She said, Isn't it enough that I'm wearing this ring? Must you claim me in front of everyone, you brute?" she asked as she gently ground against him. Naruto gave in because he didn't want things to get worse. The future Uzumaki said, "Kyukuku, of course I do," as she watched the conversation between Team Kurenai. It made her curious. "When did you learn those weapon forms, Naruto-kun?" "The scroll Hashirama-sama gave me had a lot of forms and styles for different weapons. Once I learned the steel release, Jiraiya and I agreed that it made sense to improve my skills with more than just swords." The two of them kept talking until Teuya walked up to them quickly, catching the attention of Shika and Shino as well. Teuya told Orochimaru-sama, "You're needed at the Hokage Tower," but he didn't say anything else. Orochimaru kissed Naruto on the cheek before he and Teuya left. When Orochimaru and her subordinate were far enough away, she asked him a question. "Teuya-chan, what else did you want to say? Kimamaro and his group have returned, and everyone but Kabuto is at your manor." "Kabuto was taken to the Hokage by a group of a NBU, said the Uzumaki Genjutsu mistress. Orochi said in a monotone, "You join the boys, and I'll go talk to Kabuto-kun." "Hi," Teuya said, and then she shunshined to where she needed to go. Neither she nor Orochi noticed that one of Teuya's Kakechu had fallen out of her hair. Shino's trusted friend quickly went back to his host's body, so Shino stopped the fight. Usually, the return of a friend would be welcomed, but it wouldn't give much information. But Team Kurenai didn't deal in normal. Some of Kurenai's students might have thought she wasn't a good match for them, but they would have been wrong. In addition to becoming good trackers, gatherers of information, and some of the best Genjutsu users in the village, each boy also learned Pure Yin Release and added it to his arsenal. Shikamaru's shadow-based jutsu became stronger than those of anyone in his clan, except maybe his father, and he would soon be stronger than the Jounin commander. He also had more different looks than anyone else, and his shadows seemed to come to life and haunt his enemies. Naruto had already gone above and beyond in his ability to use Genjutsu, so he wanted to add it to his elemental ninjutsu. He had been able to come up with a few attacks that could also trap the enemy. He also uses it to hide his summoning jutsu, so his enemies never really know how many panthers he calls at once. Shino trained and did well in Genjutsu, just like the rest of his team. Like Shikamaru, he was able to add the Yin Release to his family's special skills, but instead of using them to attack, he used them to find out information. He had a section of specialized Kakechu that could play back conversations that were overheard but not recorded. During his time as a hunter nin, his skill with them only got better as other ninja failed to catch or avoid the Abure mare. Now, one of those special little bugs was telling them something important. Naruto had changed and grown up while he was away. He had really thought about Jiraiya's ideas, even if he didn't always agree with them. He believed in peace, but a peace that kept the strong from hurting the weak. He thought that getting revenge was often pointless and didn't make things right or meet the emotional needs of the person who wanted it. He wasn't as angry or quick to fight as he used to be. This was partly because his level of skill and power required him to have more control and judgment. Shino told Shika and Naruto, Kabuto is back. Even though he had grown, he was neither a peacemaker nor a saint. Any threat could be taken care of, and Kabuto had tried to kill him and his team. That alone put Kabuto on Naruto's list of people to kill. But once he found out Orochi was pregnant, the medic became a problem that needed to be solved. Today, he dies, Naruto said. Shino said, he's in the Hokage's custody. Naruto repeated, today. He saw how his friends looked at him. That looked like it needed an explanation. Naruto sighed and then said, Orochi's pregnant. Both of them did a good job of hiding their surprise, probably because they were focused on the problem at hand. Naruto touched his hair with his fingers. Chakra is a funny thing. Your initial abilities are like any other genetic predisposition, given to you by your parents. But chakra can change, grow, and get stronger over time, so in that way he can act as something like an environmental factor. Your chakra can affect how your genes are expressed. It is an epigenetic factor, Naruto said, looking around to see if anyone was still with him. He didn't know this until Tsunade began teaching him medical ninjutsu, because she wouldn't do things halfway. My child will be the child of a Sannin and a Jinchuriki Uzumaki who has been a Jinchuriki for his whole life and has spent the last 10 years making his chakra stronger and more powerful. Massive reserves, Shikamaru said. Yes, Kyuubi says I'm getting close to tailed best level reserves on my own now that I don't have to hold back his chakra. Well, when a baby forms, it needs more than just food from mom, Shino said. Even as a Sannin, it's likely that Orochimaru's chakra system will be strained and changed by the way he or she was born. Troublesome. At some point, she's going to be weaker. Chakra control shot, maybe not consistently, but that almost makes it worse. Reserves also decrease to go the most troublesome fetus in history. Kabuto would probably try to kill you again first, but if he thinks he can't get to you, he'll go for the baby, Shikamaru said. Kabuto is going to die today, Naruto said again. Yes, agreed, his teammates said without any hesitation. Shikamaru then said, snatching him away from the Hokage, and, by extension, ANBU won't be easy, but we have to at least try. We'd also have to talk to Kurenai-sensei. Even if it's just a formality, she's still the leader of our squad, and she deserves to know and have her say. I agree, and even if I had a plan, I'd need Kurenai help senseis to carry it out. What plan? Shikamaru asked. Naruto replied, singing in the rain. Ambitious, the Nara said in response. Shino asked, for the whole village. Can you handle that? She asked. For my future wife and child. Yes, besides, you two would have to do the hard part. Shikamaru said, we'd only get one chance at this, and if we fail, we're so screwed. Guys, if this is too much, just tell me right now and I'll take care of it. I promise. No, we'll do this as a team. But we should know that even if we succeed, there will be some consequences, Shino said. Shikamaru said, we'll need 2 messenger summons. I have everything else on me. Same, Shino added. Naruto nodded, and then he called up 2 baby panthers. His teammates told the little ones what to do, and off they went. Then, the 3 people on Team Kurenai went to Kurenai's house. Kabuto sat in the chair without arms. The Hokage was in front of him, the Toad Sage was behind him, and a group of NBU agents were hiding nearby, ready to attack at any time. From an outsider's point of view, his situation was dangerous, but as a former spy, he was used to it and knew how to deal with his anxiety before it turned into full-blown panic. They hadn't asked him a question yet, so they were probably waiting for someone else. When the door opened behind him, he knew it was her even before he heard her laugh. Hyukuku, I was not expecting to see you today. Kabuto-kun, she said as she walked past her former second-in-command. Kabuto took a quick look at her. Even though it was short, he saw everything he needed to. The flashy ring sparkled in the light, and small but important changes in the body could only mean one thing. She was engaged, and maybe even married, and she was pregnant with Uzumaki's child. He struggled to stay still and stopped himself from adjusting his glasses to show how angry he was. She had so much potential and was meant for more, but she chose that worm. A lower form of life, like a hammer that can only hit things. His mistress thought that Uzumaki's straight back and cocky smile made him look like he knew a secret that everyone else didn't. A boy. Like a fangirl, she changed for a boy. She is the strongest and most feared woman in all of the shinobi nations, but she would rather play house with a boy. It was almost too much, no matter how hard I tried or how scared I was of dying. She needed to see how far she'd fallen and be held responsible for it. What did the Uzumaki have that made her like him so much? Even though he might have had some skills, he was treated the same way as every other Leaf child who was lucky enough to grow up in the light. Because he could fight well. A lot of other people were too. That he was a jutsu expert. Then what? How many jutsu do you need from the same element? What did Kabuto not have that Naruto Uzumaki did? What was so special about this boy, a boy, that it made the person he respected most in the world forget herself and forget about him? What? Kabuto, Tsunade said to get the attention of the medic. Yes, Tsunade-sama, he said, trying to calm himself down as he felt that old blood stirring. He had to leave this place and finish his deal with Zetsu. If Zetsu is dead, why are you here? He said, no. And yet, Kyukyuko, you dare to come back. That's very brave of you, Orochi said. Zetsu was very hard to find, that's true. But I came back because he made me an offer. He wants me to kidnap Uchiha Sasuke, and in exchange, he'll kill Naruto, thinking that's what I want. Kabuto said, knowing that he had to tell most of the truth for this to work. If Zetsu could kill Naruto, why wouldn't he just take Sasuke by himself? Asked Tsunade. Kabuto cursed her in his head. Dealing with people with less intelligence had hurt his game. I don't know, Hokage-sama. He didn't say much, and he seemed ready to attack me if I had given him a reason to doubt me. Tsunade turned in her chair and looked out the window. She was thinking about what Kabuto had said, just like her other 2 teammates. She thought about how quickly the weather had changed as clouds started to gather in a sky that had been clear. The 5th Hokage thought that Kabuto was keeping something important from him. The question was whether they could use him, find out what he was planning, and stop him before he could strike or go underground. Should she kill him right now? Just one quick punch would be enough. As the rain started to fall and the sounds and smells of the storm filled her office, Tsunade cursed Hiruzen for leaving her with this mess. He should have just killed the boy and stopped. Instead, he almost pardoned the traitor and used him as a pawn. Since that was one of his last official acts, Tsunade couldn't legally kill him for something her predecessor had decided. Just one more piece of Sensei's mess that he left on her desk like a piece of stray poop for her to clean up. The goddess closed her eyes, and the steady pattern of the rain helped her think. She wanted to get rid of the last of the Akatsuki, and Obito told her that Zetsu was a threat because he could gather information. The Uchiha told as much as he could about the thing, since it wasn't a person. Obito said it was Madara's will coming true, but Naruto said that was a load of bullshit. Tsunade smiled when she thought about her surrogate nephew giving a lecture about yin tethers and how, if Zetsu was Madara's will, Madara would have to be alive or Zetsu would have stopped existing. Obito told them that Madara was definitely dead, which meant that Zetsu had been convincing and sneaky enough to trick even Madara. Kabuto confirmed what Obito said about the plant thing's senses. It was almost impossible to sneak up on him. Obito didn't know much about how good he was in battle, but he thought he could beat most other ninja. Zetsu was a known unknown threat, which is the worst kind. It was very hard to come up with a plan to get rid of the thing. This meant that Kabuto's plan to act as 3 different people might be their best bet. She would have to tell Sasuke about the plan, and Naruto might give Sasuke a Hurricane Kunai so that the 2 boys could kill or seal the thing. Tsunade turned around, having made her choice. She then went on to make a plan to catch the last member of the Akatsuki, again and again and again. The details never changed, but no one in the room seemed to notice except for Jiraiya. The Toad Sage had this feeling, this gut feeling, that something was wrong. Or, more accurately, out of balance. He couldn't figure it out, so he went to the window and sat there. For some reason, the storm made him feel like he was being pulled both toward and away from it. He also felt like he needed to review Tsunade's plan again. By forcing himself to pay attention to the rain, he found the strange thing: the rain was full of Senjutsu chakra, which meant it wasn't normal. Jiraiya quickly put up a wall that was meant to protect all senses inside it. Jiraiya yelled Kai as he messed up his chakra. He then saw that Tsunade and Orochimaru were looking at and talking to an empty chair, which meant that Kabuto was gone. He got out of the Genjutsu and her ANBU guard for each of them. Tsunade yelled, "What the hell, Jiraiya?" She was the best healer in the world and as in tune with her chakra flow as anyone, so it wasn't easy to put her under a Genjutsu. Kabuto is gone, but I don't know for how long. This barrier is the only thing that keeps us from doing the same Genjutsu, Jiraiya said. Orochi thought, the storm. She remembered it starting, but she didn't pay much attention to it after that. Now, thanks to the barrier, she couldn't feel any of it. Yes, did Naruto know Kabuto was back? This is his move, he said. Orochi replied, I didn't tell him, but that's obviously not important and we're wasting time. He didn't take Kabuto to teach him a lesson. I need to go, Jiraiya said as he performed the summoning jutsu, the results surprising his teammates. Ma and Pa, I'm sorry to be short, but I need to go into Sage mode and stop Naruto. Shima asked, what is Naruto-chan going to do, Jiraiya boy? Even though both toads were on his shoulders, remove a threat to his family. Unfortunately, that threat is a village asset. Pa nodded sagely. Naruto-chan prefers decisive action. He's like Minato-chan in that way. Yeah, he's a chip off the old block, which is why we can't delay. The 2 sages focused and balanced the natural energy for Jiraiya. Now looking like a toad, he turned to Tsunade and said, I can control this barrier from afar, so when it falls, send every ANBU you can. Jiraiya jumped out the window, and his heightened senses led him to 2 Narutos, one hidden by Kurenai's Genjutsu, and the other with his teammates in the Nara lands. He would go there and try to attract the real one, who he thought was with Kurenai. He didn't care that he hadn't felt Kabuto as he ran toward his goal. Earlier, before Jiraiya was making a mad dash toward the members of Team Kurenai, the young men were in their sensei's house, Shino holding Mirai, and Shikamaru smirking as Naruto got several bonks on the head. After 3, Kurenai hugged her problem child. Why the reaction? Naruto told Kurenai Orkai that he and she were engaged, just like he did with Shino and Shikamaru, but he didn't say that she was pregnant. But that wasn't why she got so angry. It was because he kept the news from her so it wouldn't take away from Mirai's arrival. Kurenai thought it was silly because everyone could use more happiness. Though she did instill a new team rule of no children until they were S-class ninja or 20 years old. When Naruto said that if they worked hard for 6 months, they could get to S-class, both of the people he was trying to kill were adamantly against it. When she saw how happy Naruto looked, she hit him again and told him it was for putting a shadow on her. She had thought it for a long time, but it wasn't until recently that she caught Magilla. Kurenai was reassured by the unofficial fifth member of the team that she was only there to watch and not report. Kurenai then took the time to show her daughter the much bigger panther. Now, the team was out back as they'd explained the dilemma and plan to Kurenai. She wasn't enthusiastic but agreed to aid them. She saw Naruto make a copy of himself out of shadow and then sit down with his legs crossed. She wrapped the whole team in a cloak to hide their presence right before Naruto's Biju chakra turned golden. A tail went to Kurenai, Shino, and Shikamaru, giving them the version 1 Biju cloak. It was the only way to shield them from his jutsu while they were on the move. With Kurama's help, Naruto was already using his chakra to pull in and balance the natural energy. Soon, the horizontal bar pupil covered the vertical slits. "Okay, Naruto, show us how to do this jutsu one more time," Kurenai said. "It starts with the typhoon release. With sage-infused Biju chakra, I can make a storm that affects the whole village." Nagato had something similar going on all the time in AIM, and he used it as a sensory jutsu. The Jinjutsu I'll use on top of that happens at the same time, so it's woven into the storm's clouds and affects all of the storm's senses: sight, sound. Kurenai was very impressed and said, "Pure hypnosis." "Yes, but the downsides are several. Even for me, this is chakra intensive. I can't move while using it, and it generates a good deal of mental strain because of the number of people I'm affecting. It also takes over 100 hand signs," Naruto explained. "It's good that you know what it can't do. Once the rain really starts to fall, you too get a move on. Kyubai's chakra protects you, but you'll still be covered in rain, so anyone who hadn't been affected will be if they see you." Seeing that his teammates nod, Naruto closes his eyes to concentrate. He started the long series of hand signals, each one done with the skill of a ninjutsu expert. As the Uzumaki went through, he sped up. His hands moved faster at the end than at the beginning. The effects could be seen instantaneously, as the clouds started to form before he was even half done. 3/4 of the way through, the first drops of rain started to fall. As Naruto got closer to being done, the amount and speed of the rain increased. On the last sign, Naruto thought, Sage Art, Kyoka Suijutsu in Konoha was blanketed in a sudden storm, but almost none sensed anything was askew. Shino and Shika shunshined away, arriving just a short distance from the Hokage Tower. The Nara knew that no one was watching them. It was impressive, but he had no time to marvel. Running to the tower, they post outside the window and overhear the conversation. Patiently, they waited, and when they heard the loop restart, the heirs slipped into the office and grabbed Kabuto, Shino knocking him unconscious. It was strange to see the three Sannin keep talking to someone who wasn't awake and wouldn't be for a while. Shino and Shikamaru were carried on his shoulder as they went to the Nara forests, where Naruto's shadow clone was waiting for them. Once they got to their final destination, Naruto put up a barrier that blocked Kabuto's senses and then tied him down with steel chains. Once set, he broke Kabuto free of the illusion, and the other two lost their Biju cloak. The medic blinked, clearly confused as to where he was and how he got there, but once he laid eyes on Naruto, he tried to break free, desire to kill him overriding any other concern. Kabuto was put down by a strong punch to the jaw that almost knocked him out. "We don't have a lot of time, so this isn't going to be a whole thing. You're about to die. Make whatever peace you can. Or don't, I don't care." "Shika, you're up," Naruto said. Shikamaru approached the medic with some powder in a vial. He put something in his hands. Once Shikamaru was right in front of the bound Kabuto, he blew the substance in Kabuto's face, forcing the spy for Oto to eat it. At first, Kabuto felt nothing, but soon he noticed an elevated heart rate, and the sensation that time had slowed considerably. He watched the Aburame approach him, and it felt like it took hours when logically he knew that to be impossible. The shinobi put one finger near the top of Kabuto's head. Kabuto couldn't see, but he could feel something crawling on him. Then he felt pain. That type of beetle burrows. Right now, it's doing that to your skull and will continue until it eats through your brain. The torture he was experiencing made writhe against his bindings, but he could only haplessly flail. It was as if he was feeling each bite in its greatest detail, over and over again. So blinded by pain, Kabuto didn't realize Naruto had returned until the Uzumaki yanked him up by the hair so they were eye to eye. He watched Naruto go through a chain of hand signs before he, Kabuto, was slapped with an open palm in his chest. The new feeling felt like a small pull, like something was pulling him down. "The jutsu I just used is a jitten technique I haven't named yet, but it will pull you toward the center of the planet. Luckily for you, you merge with the earth, so it's not too different from Daten techniques that let you move underground. The difference is that you have no control over how far or fast you sink, and the jutsu will run out of chakra at some point, crushing you instantly." As Kabuto was forcibly lowered into his final resting place, he could barely form a coherent thought. knowing he was going to die, but experiencing it so slowly was peeling away the layers of his sanity. He tried to scream but felt a strong hand grip his jaw, painfully. "I've taken your life, Kabuto. Don't give me your dignity, too," the Uzumaki told him. Even though the words came out slowly, Kabuto could still see their worth. No, he would not give this boy his dignity. The real Naruto showed up after he finished his jutsu and got rid of the clone. "Jiraiya is coming," he said. He was out of Kurama mode and Sage mode, both of which helped ease his headache. But the mental strain was still there, though it was less severe. Jiraiya landed hard, ma and pa on his shoulders. Naruto rolled his eyes. His godfather was being over the top. "Where is his helmet?" Jiraiya asked, but his tone made it clear that he wanted an answer. "Who's that?" Shika asked. "That medic that wished he was Orochi cuckold," Chan's Naruto explained before remembering his manners. "Hi, Granny," and Grandpa Sage, he called out as he waved. "Hi, Naruto-chan," Shima responded while also waving. "He sounds like a womanizer. We don't associate with them," Shino explained, getting back to the topic at hand. "Why? Well, that should be self-evident. Are you having fun, you three? Because pretty soon there's going to be several squads of a NBU here to take you into custody, and they won't be nice about it. I'd imagine they'd be a little mannerable, as I can get rude, too." "Really, Naruto? How's the headache?" "You probably couldn't fight a wet paper bag," Jiraiya challenged. "PFFT, don't start talking slick because you're in Sage mode, shitty pervert," Naruto warned. "Naruto-chan, use your words. You're a proud toad summoner, and that's how you'll act," Shima told him. Fukasaku said, "That would have more weight if the boy wasn't right about Jiraiya's perversions. He's a lost cause, but Naruto-chan can still be set straight. Minato-chan never said anything bad." Jiraiya was embarrassed by the two toads fighting, so Shino leaned over to Naruto and said, "She knows that your father was the worst mass murderer the shinobi villages have ever produced, right?" "I'm sure she's heard," Shino, Naruto said, dryly. "Then why? It doesn't even make sense to try to explain. I've just learned to accept it." As the most calm standoff in history went on, the surrounding forests were full of swooshes and gently swaying trees. The ANBU had arrived quickly and surrounded Team Kurenai with their weapons drawn. Naruto asked Shika, "How many do you count?" As he looked down and held his head. "At least 24, wouldn't be surprised if it were double that." Naruto said, "Man, we should kick their asses just because, as if the presence of the village's best fighters wasn't a big deal. Do not, I repeat, do not choose right now to show how gallingly troublesome you can be, Naruto." "What got up your backside, Shika?" "I didn't tell them I would fight them. I just said we should." Shino said, "He's been taking a lot of cold showers, which he doesn't like." Naruto laughed. "Oh, I wouldn't know." Shika said, "I hate both of you scumbags," which made Shino laugh. The ANBU were confused by the scene because they weren't used to being treated like they didn't matter, especially in such a large group. The boys pretended to surrender, especially the son of the Yondaime, as if he were doing them a favor. The boys continued to talk as they walked slowly under a cloudless sky. Darui had been in Iwa for a few days, but he hadn't gotten anywhere because the Tsuchikage wanted to talk about everything but why the Kumo nin were there. Now, he was headed to a rock garden, where he hoped they could start talking in earnest. As he walked, he saw Onoki sitting by a cliff. Darui joined him, making sure that Onoki knew he was there. Onoki said, "Darui-san, thank you for coming with me." Darui said, "Thank you for letting me come, Onoki-sama. Despite what your time here may indicate, I do tend to prefer getting to the point of things. I won't apologize for giving you the runaround, as I needed to know what kind of man you are. You see, since he left Suna so quickly, no cage and power will work with I. We didn't really believe he ran away because he was scared. But that's what people think, and it's a good idea for everyone. Excuse me for being blunt, Onoki-sama, but if the answer was going to be no, why play games? Because I would have gotten angry, yelled, and made threats. Even when he has a bad hand, he acts strong, as if the rest of the world should be afraid of him. You remain patient and focused. That's good to know for the time ahead." "Times ahead?" Darui questioned. "I has made war an inevitability, if for no other reason than to reclaim your Jinchuriki and Kumo's loss of reputation. Also, Tsunade isn't Hiruzen, so she won't go as far for peace as Hiruzen did. No, war is coming, and I'm sure Kumo can't win, though you probably already knew that. Even if your goal is to kill a lot of the young people, how many of them will you have to kill? How many of your futures are you willing to put in danger to hurt Konoha's?" Darui remained silent. He didn't disagree with the protector of Iwa and felt no need to mount a hollow defense. "So, I's war must happen. Unless it isn't. You have one chance to stop this from happening, Darui-san. But I don't know if you're up to it. And what is this path that is clear to only you, Onoki-sama? Iwa will not ally with Raikage. That is the way it must be. But I would work with Raikage Darui, Onoki said. He saw that the Kumo Jounin didn't react, but that didn't surprise him. He judged the man and found him to be good. As he left, Onoki said, "I'll leave you here to think about that." Darui stayed there for a few hours before going back to his room. Tap, tap, tap. The only sound coming from the Hokage's office was Tsunade's slow, deliberate tapping. The office was full, with her ANBU detail hiding in the shadows, Jiraiya standing next to her, and Shibaya Burame and Shikaku Nara standing behind their sons. And, most importantly, the three annoying brats, two of whom were standing at attention while the third was clearly showing defiance. Part of her wanted to wring their little necks for strutting into her office, stealing an asset, and then making the body disappear. The Hyuga and Inuzuka ANBU officers who were at the scene didn't see any sign of Kabuto. It was a great display of tradecraft. The ninja inside her was impressed, but they completely ruined a future operation, whose importance is unknown. Maybe she should tell them to go east and send them on a conquest mission, making it so they can't see their girlfriends until Kumo falls. That would be a good way to get back at him. She held back a smirk, thinking that it would probably take them a month. Then she looked at the Nara and noticed that he seemed twitchy for a Nara. She thought back to the last time Temari had been in the village. The Godame cut her estimate down to 2 weeks. Time. Jiraiya called out, probably afraid that her silence was just the start of a huge temper tantrum. "How do you want to play this?" Tsunade asked. "Sure, you covered your tracks, so there is no evidence, but the last time I checked, I'm not military police and don't need any. Or, better yet, the lack of evidence is surely evidence in itself. So, do you want to play the denial game, or do you want to cut the crap and confess?" Before they answer, "Tsunade-sama, we feel we need to point out that Kabuto Yakashi tried to kill them once before," Shikaku said. "I'm aware," Tsunade said. "The Sandaime decided not to take official action against him," she said in disgust. "Yes, he refused to take official action, but he never stopped the affected clans from seeking revenge. As you know, if a Konoha ninja ever tries to target a clan ninja, the clans have the right to seek revenge proportional to the offense. If this clause is to be ignored, it must be done by official decree, and the people who are hurt and their clans must be compensated," Shibai explained. Also, Shikaku said, the Sandaime's refusal to punish Kabuto and his decision to hide the traitor's actions could be seen as another attempt to meddle in the Uzumaki clan's internal affairs, since Naruto was the main target. The Sandaime may have wanted Kabuto to try again, hoping he'd succeed so he'd have much weaker and possibly more pliable members to control. So, your argument is that whether or not they did it, they had the right to do it because Sensei didn't fill out the right paperwork? Jiraiya asked, a little confused. "Yes," Shibai said. The blonde Hokage let out a sigh when he answered. She should have known, since both clan leaders were already in the tower before their sons got there, that the boys had already thought of a way out of trouble if they were brought in. It was a clever use of politics, and if she didn't listen to their arguments, it would cause trouble between her and two groups she couldn't afford to upset. Since Sensei hadn't told you about Kabuto's actions or taken the right steps to stop any retaliatory actions, I have no choice but to close this matter. Please be aware of my great displeasure. Maybe you had a right to do what you did, but that doesn't make it right. I hope we can live with the consequences of your actions." Everyone is dismissed except Jiraiya and Naruto. He was all alone now. "I'm mad at your teammates, but I'm very disappointed in you," Tsunade said, and she had to ignore the twinge of pain she felt when Naruto's face looked hurt for a moment because of her words. "Before you say anything, I know Kabuto tried to kill your team. I know he was likely going to try again, and maybe it's not fair that I expected you to just accept he still had a use. But he did. He was our best chance to get Zetsu, and you took him off the table. You should have also trusted that I wouldn't let anything bad happen to you." "You couldn't promise that," Naruto replied. "You had no idea how he'd try, what he'd do, or when he'd spring his trap. Getting him out of the village was one thing. But this place is either my home or it isn't." The old man couldn't decide or didn't care. "I thought you'd be different," Tsunade asked. "What is that supposed to mean?" Because she was now the one who was hurt. "I know what it's like to go to sleep surrounded by enemies and only feel safe because someone I didn't trust was in charge of people who would hurt me if they could. I can't let that happen now, especially not to someone so close to Orochi." Tsunade's eyes lit up as she understood. It wasn't just out of anger or fear for himself. "I get it, Naruto," she said with a soft smile. "But you could have told me instead of trying to get away with it. I believe you'll sit in this chair one day, but when you do I want you to make being Hokage admirable again." Sensei's last years ruined things, and most people see me as a placeholder. I don't mind, it's mostly true. But if you want to be like the Hokages of old, you have to hold as he walked out the door. Tsunade let out an exaggerated groan. There are a lot of things I don't like about this job, but the hypocrisy may be the thing I hate the most, Tsunade said as Jiraiya took a seat in front of her. Jiraiya laughed back in response. Yes, if it had been you, we'd be picking up pieces of Kabuto all over the village, Jiraiya said, referring to her well-known temper. But you made a good point about Naruto holding himself to a higher standard, so it's not outright hypocrisy. I think he loves his surrogate aunt enough that any teen snarkiness was squashed. My worry is what we're going to do for the next few months, since Minato went missing to save Kushina when she wasn't pregnant. Oh, he told you? Tsunade asked, not really surprised that Jiraiya knew, but she was when he shook his head no. I'm not a perfect sage, but I can sense everything the kid can, and Orochi's little bun wasn't hard to pick up. I'm sure Sensei doesn't know yet, but let me know when he does. You can't save him from himself, Jiraiya, nor should you be expected to. It's not so much about protecting him as preventing as much harm as I can. Prevention is better than treatment, but Sensei won't let this go. No matter how much I like him, Orochi and Naruto are more valuable. If I have to fix the problems he makes, you need to know what I'll do. Jiraiya looked at Tsunade in shock. You'd kill Sensei? He asked. His obsession with Orochi has put this village in danger more than once, Jiraiya. He let Nagato attack within the village's walls. He let a double agent act freely within the village. If we were lucky, Naruto could have gone missing. And if we weren't lucky, I don't want to think about what would have happened. And if I hadn't left that loophole open, who knows what Team Kurenai would have done to get to Kabuto? What? You knew they were going to try something? No, but of course I thought they would. What kind of ninja would let someone try to kill them and get away with it? It wasn't just an assassination attempt, and getting a Biju out can't be easy or quick. As soon as I knew Kabuto had turned, I could have bought off the 3 clans. This was a backup plan I hoped I wouldn't need. But here we are. You're more sneaky than people give you credit for. I'm a lady with many faces. Oh, really? Then you should feel free to show me your face anytime. Jiraiya didn't even mind the punch that came next as he saw Tsunade's cheeks start to turn a little pink. Yes, it was totally worth it. Shikamaru thought that when he left the Hokage's office, he had dealt with the only angry woman he would have to deal with that day. His mother, who was standing in front of him with her hands on her hips and her fiercest glare on display, told him so. He didn't even find her bothersome. He was much more upset that his father had turned into a snitch and kept letting that woman run him. Well, Yoshino said. Well, what? Shikamaru asked when he got back, and he got a slap on the head. Ouch, he muttered. Don't talk down to me, Shikamaru Nara, and don't pretend you don't know what I'm asking. Troublesome. Whatever happened and whatever role I may or may not have played in it was necessary. Do better, ordered his father. When the panther cub came up to him and told him what he needed to do, Shikaku was genuinely confused. That he seemed to have lost time didn't help at all. I defended you to Tsunade-sama, so we both deserve the truth. And you did a good job on our clan grounds, Yoshino reminded her husband. Yes, and that was reckless, son, Shikaku said, trying to hide his surprise when his son seemed to be offended. Was it? Did you find any bodies lying around? Shika asked, only to get another slap. Oh, damn it. Oh, don't curse at me. Shikaku, this is your fault. You were too easy on him, and now he's on the wrong path. Yoshino, please cool down and let Shikamaru explain. Seeing this as his chance and an implied order to do so, Shikamaru said, the things we did today could have stopped a disaster from happening later. It also kept Shino and me from having to make some hard choices. This was for the best. Neither parent missed the fact that Shika said only Shino and he would be able to choose, but neither wanted to push much further. Even though the day's events didn't give them a lot of confidence, they knew their son was smart and sensible in general. If this helped them avoid danger in the future, it would be worth it. Yoshino, happy with her reaming, went to the kitchen. Shikaku brought up the fact that the 3 boys had said they were willing to face the ANBU agents who had been sent to arrest them. He thought she wasn't listening, so he said this. Yoshino, on the other hand, had not been too far away to hear what was going on, and he got angry once more. Naruto sighed as he walked into his house. His talk with Tsunade hadn't helped ease his mental stress. Nothing would have helped more than a nap, but he had to keep going. As he kicked off his sandals, he noticed a pair that belonged to his future wife. He didn't miss her being absent from the Hokage's office. That could be for a number of reasons, which his tired mind didn't have time to think through. Being honest was the best choice, even though she should be mad that he killed Kabuto. Naruto left the foyer and walked through the hall. He found her in the kitchen, eating cake out of a teal pastry box at the counter. Hey, Orochi-chan, what do you have there? he asked. She smiled at him as she turned on her stool. Cake, especially the flavor of our wedding cake, she said. I missed the tasting, he asked, upset that he knew the answer before she did. Damn, I really wanted to be there for that. Kyukuku, it's fine. Koharu and I came to a decision, and I'm happy with it. Besides, you were busy. Yeah, about that, is there anything you'd like to talk about? You can call down storms and use Jinjutsu on an entire village, Orochi told him. I'm disappointed in how much you held back, and as soon as I'm no longer pregnant, we're going to have a real rematch. Naruto smiled as he got a fork. Sure, whatever you want, he said as he sat next to her and tried to stick his tool into the cake. It went right through the baked good as if it never existed. Naruto squinted at Orochi. This isn't really big enough to share. I'm sure you understand, she said with a sneaky smile. Shouldn't I know what kind of cake will be served on my special day? Naruto asked. You could have. You planned an assassination with your friends. Did you even send out the invitations, like you were supposed to? Orochi asked, touching his cheek as a sign she was done with Kamui. Gasp, milady. I had my cubs out telling everyone about our upcoming wedding, Naruto said. He then tried again to take a piece of her cake slice, but the same thing happened as the first time. How are you fitting? She asked before taking a bite. Taken care of. Shino's guy is efficient, he said, trying again to sneak a piece, but Orochi turned away from him. Dear, we're supposed to share in everything, you know. Don't want to? Get your own, Orochi said as she headed to the table. Okay, what's the flavor so I can get it? He asked, not telling. And this was made especially for the tasting, so there isn't any more. But you won't share. No one can say you are slow to learn. Naruto-kun. Uzumaki smiled at her jab. I guess I'll have to take it then, he said as he blurred behind her and quickly reached for his prize, only to hit the table. Kyukuku. Good try, Orochi said as she seemed to phase through the windows to get to the back of the compound. As soon as she finished the jutsu, Naruto saw the shiki engraved on her engagement ring and grabbed his prize. As he was getting ready to brag, the words died as he watched Orochi stick out her tongue to get the last piece of cake. Body modifications are cheating, he said while pointing at Orochi. She pointed to herself and said, ninja, and nothing else. Naruto laughed, but he wouldn't give up the point. As he got his laughter under control, he ran his hand through his hair. He didn't want to ruin the mood, but avoiding people had never been his thing. Orochi-chan, is it necessary to talk about Kabuto? Before Naruto could answer, she asked again, what is there to talk about? Kabuto was talented, and I helped him develop that talent because I thought he could be useful. I even started to like him. But Kabuto had two fatal flaws. He lacked the strength to be himself outside of my influence, and he froze me in his mind. I don't like stagnation, not in the world or in myself. He couldn't handle my recent changes and crossed. And my hand in his removal. Naruto asked, since I think you did what you did because of how I am right now, and I made that happen, it would be silly to be angry with you. Hey, I was pretty important in making that happen, too, Titebeo. Of course, sweetie, you're my big, strong man, Orochi said sarcastically, and he was confused when Naruto beamed with pride. I know you're making fun of me, but I'm your big, strong man, so ha. Joke's on you. Orochi glided over to Naruto, set down the cake box, and wrapped her arms around his waist when she got there. She smiled, looked up at her intended, and leaned in. Naruto copied her without much thought. He did not get the kiss he expected. Once he started leaning forward, Orochi turned her hips into him and threw him to the ground. She landed in a full mount as she looked down. Hyukuku, you were saying. Orochi teased. This doesn't count, Naruto said, and Orochi gave him a look of surprise. Naruto rolled his eyes as he tried to get up. Orochi had other ideas, so she forced him back down. No, Naruto-kun, I like you like this, Orochi said, enjoying the thrill of having the strongest shinobi in the world under her control. She smiled softly as she leaned down and gave her future husband an uncharacteristically clean kiss. As she was about to kiss him again, her senses told her they weren't alone. But she didn't tense up or say anything to show she was aware. Back here is father and I used to run in the midday sun, too, the voice said as she came out of the shadow in front of Orochi. The snake Sanin was a little confused when Naruto put his head in her stomach. Don't be shy, Naruto-chan. Passion is important in a relationship, even if you've already kissed her, the figure said as it became clearer. The humanoid panther was wearing a gold and white cloak and sitting in front of the two people with a smirk. Naruto had told her that his summons could choose to look like normal jungle cats or change. Most of them just did what they wanted. Hi, Granny, Naruto said, but his voice was muffled because he was still hiding his face. Such a boring greeting from my favorite summoner. What have I done? What sin have I committed to be treated so rudely? Naruto stood up easily, Orochi by his side. He gently put Orochi down so he could look at the Grand Elder of the Panthers. "Sorry, Granny. It's nice to see you today, of course. What brings you by?" Bast said. "See, that's much better. You've come a long way since you were that confused little cub who couldn't even throw a proper punch. Now look at you, you're starting a family. I'm so proud of you, Naruto-chan. Not enough to stop calling me Naruto-chan, though, and I've noticed you haven't told me why you've come to visit." "Oh, it's not a big deal. The girls and I went to see the monkeys. I know that Hiruzen has given you both trouble in the past, so I asked Enma to keep his summoner in line," Bast said. "Requested?" Naruto asked with a really bad feeling in his stomach. Even if I had a knife to his throat, I still asked it as a question, so I think it counts. "Granny, really?" "Yes. You know this is partly your fault. Okoi says you don't give them enough to do, so they were ready for some action." "Don't worry, we didn't kill any of the shit flingers," Bast replied. Naruto was about to lose it and just wanted this to be over, but Orochi found humor in the situation. "Hyukuku, you threatened King Enma. I like you, Bast-sama," Orochi said. Bast waved her away. "None of that Sama stuff. We're basically family now. Which reminds me, you two have a ritual to do before your wedding day." "It's a panther tradition," Bast said, looking down at her nails. "What? Granny, I told you in person that I was getting married, and you didn't mention any kind of ritual." "Well, I forgot. I'm old, I forget things. I don't believe you, Tabeo," Naruto yelled. And Naruto meant it literally. He knew she had a brain like a steel trap. A summoning clan with a lot of grudges would not be forgetful. SHH, Cubby, I forgot and now I remember. "Don't worry, Naruto-chan. It's not as complicated as when you met your father. It's just a bonding ceremony. Granny, I can't just accept that on its own. I needed to know so I could talk to Orochi about it," Naruto said, but it felt like he was talking to a brick wall. Orochi said, "It's fine, Naruto-kun. We can do the ritual the day before. Does that sound fair to you?" Bast nodded in approval. "You've got a real keeper here, Naruto-chan," Bast said, and Naruto beamed. "Yeah, I think so, too." An alarm went off, signaling that someone was at the front door. Naruto didn't have to guess, and he wasn't surprised when he arrived and saw Hiruzen there. He was mildly surprised to see Enma, Konohamaru, and Asuma, who had just finished waxing his beard, with him. "We need to talk, Naruto-kun," Hiruzen said sternly, and Naruto rolled his eyes. The Uzumaki head waved them in while cursing Bast for making it happen. It had been 3 weeks since Darui returned. When he left Iwa, his mind was full of ideas for what to do next. Part of him wanted to go to Konoha, convince Kurabi to stand up to Ai, and get the leaf to back the transition. Darui quickly turned down the plan. Kurabi wouldn't get rid of his brother until hundreds or thousands of ninja died because of Ai's mistakes. The Jinchuriki was simply too loyal to his brother to be proactive. Darui also considered telling Ai what Onoki was doing. Darui had no doubt that Onoki would betray him just as easily as he was willing to leave Ai without a friend in the first place. Darui knew that Onoki had to hire the Akatsuki as a subcontractor because Ai refused to stop being a soldier, and he thought that Ai might be angry about it. The former student of Ai also said no to that option. If Ai believed Darui, he would add Iwa to the list. If he didn't believe Darui, he would turn on the messenger because there was no trust between the two men. He thought and thought about what he could do and finally decided on a plan of action. Because of this decision, he was being led into the Raikage's office by a team of a NBU. If he'd made a mistake, this meeting could have been his last. But he'd rather take a chance and lose everything than let Ai ruin the hidden village all by herself. When he walked into the office, he saw a tumbler on Ai's desk that was a quarter full of a brown liquid. Of course, the ninja thought. It was rare to see Ai not deep into a bottle. He felt bad for Mabui, because she had to take most of Ai's abuse. The ANBU scattered when Darui closed the door behind him. He was alone with Ai, a muscular man with angry eyes. "I thought if you were going to try to get rid of me, you'd come at me straight on. Instead, you write notes like a little girl," said Ai, slamming down a copy of Darui's work. In the booklet, all of Ai's faults and failures were listed, even with the Hyuga incident. Darui said that Ai had brought them to the edge of war and done it for his own ego. He asked anyone who read his words to think about if they'd be willing and proud to die for that. Not for Kumo, but for a cocky manchild who wanted to change everything to feel better about himself. Darui ended his work with a simple belief, as goes the cage, so goes the village. If the cage is strong, honorable, and admired, the village would be, too. If the cage were vain, rude, and dull, so would the ninja. The copies, which were given out for free, caused a stir. If I had been on his game, he would have stopped the works right away. But he was slow to act, which showed all the senior ninja that Darui had a point. "Well, do you have something to say?" I yelled. "You made this happen. Your pride and arrogance led us astray, and now we risk war with 2 major villages without any important allies or our 2 Jinchuriki. You need to step down, I ripped through his desk and clotheslined Darui, who wasn't ready for the blitz. The speed and power of the move sent both men through the office door and wall. Mabui yelled in shock. I didn't stop his charge until Darui's back hit another wall. As he moved away, he looked at the once trusted shinobi with disgust. If you want to replace me, boy, you're going to have to do better than this. He tried to brag, but Darui speared him. Darui didn't make the same mistake as I, so as soon as he got the takedown, he started punching I in the face with controlled aggression. He landed 3 clean blows before I could start to fight back. The Raikage grabbed both of Darui's arms and then, in a show of raw strength, threw the younger man off him. As soon as he got back to his feet, I closed the distance and put Darui in a bear hug, then finished with a belly-to-belly suplex. Instead of hearing the satisfying crunch of broken ribs, I was splashed with water. He realized too late that he had grabbed a clone as he hit with a flying knee. The impact was strong enough to lift the Raikage off the ground, and Darui had no intention of stopping. Darui grabbed Ai's arm and pulled him close. Then he hit him in the face. The drunk village leader was hit with fists, feet, and knees as the attack kept going. But Darui's attacks had become too predictable, so I launched his counterattack. When I hit both of Darui's ears, Darui was stunned. The Yondaime put his hand on Darui's head and slammed him down on the ground with enough force to break the floor. He did it twice more before picking the man up and throwing him out of the window. I wanted the entire village to see the usurper fall. He looked down at his former second-in-command with disappointment. He couldn't just beat him, he had to break him and any future plans to fight back. With just a thought, I turned on his lightning armor, the symbol of Kumo's power, and appeared next to his defeated opponent. With a kick to the ribs, he started his second attack. It's light, though, not enough to fully break Darui's ribs, but enough to send him flying across several roofs. I let Darui attempt to get to his feet. When the man was almost there, he was lifted up with a knee. The force was almost enough to cause whiplash. Before Darui could be carried away from the impact, he was grabbed in midair and given a punch to the stomach. The Raikage let the younger man fall, then watched as he coughed up blood. By this time, most of the village was out in the streets to watch the fight. No one was more surprised than Samui, Kamui, and Amoy, who were all students at Kurabi. Like most of the ninja in the village, they had read Darui's treatise. Amoy had wondered if he'd lead to a coup, but both of his teammates laughed it off. Now, they worry that the man was right and that the instability caused by a successful or failed overthrow will make Kurabi and Yujito's return even later. But like everyone else, they could only watch as if they were stuck on the ground. I was getting tired of hitting Darui around. With his lightning armor on, the traitor was no longer a threat. He was bloodied but not yet broken. I walked toward his victim, knowing exactly what he wanted to do to end this. He lifted Darui up and was getting ready to use a Liger bomb when the inexplicable happened. That feeling of being invincible left him. His strength weakened. His lightning armor lost its power. He didn't have time to think about why or figure out what was happening to his chakra system as Darui cruelly gouged his eye. On instinct, I dropped Darui and raised his hands to cover his eyes. He was blinded and in a lot of pain. Darui took advantage of the distraction to do his first ninjutsu of the fight. All of them watched as the famous lightning style, Black Panther's, was used on Ai, who was nearly defenseless. The Raikage let out a primal scream as the Raiten entered his body. When it was done, it left a cloud of smoke behind. You're so proud that you haven't even wondered why no ANBU or Jounin has stepped in to stop this, Darui said. And he was right. I hadn't thought about why his best ninja hadn't arrested his opponent. Everyone can see it. See how your war ends. We have no allies, no Jinchuriki, and this war has no point. I tried to show you, but your thick head wouldn't listen. I stopped, still in a lot of pain. Don't have to. I started to say that he didn't have to listen, but Darui stopped him with his killing blow. The storm style, laser circus beams pierced all of Ai's major organs and his brain. Darui knew there was no doubt, no chance that I would live. He turned to the crowd and tried to look stronger than he really felt. Things would be hard, but they needed to know that in the end, they would be fine. Ai's war is probably unavoidable. When he tried to ambush Konoha, we lost 100 senior ninja and now look weak in the eyes of the other villages. This is no longer a war of conquest, but one to save face, to show everyone that Kumo is more than just one man's ambition. That we are strong, that we are enduring. That we are the storm, shouted Darui. The crowd clapped. When it died down, Darui went on. I can't promise you that things will be easy, because they won't be. But every decision I make will be for the good of Kumo. We will get through these dark times. We will get our guardians back, and we will come out of this stronger than ever. Kumo's best days are ahead of us, not behind us. That is my promise to each of you as your godam." As the crowds chanted his name, Darui walked towards Shi, leaning on. "I'm glad your chakra-suppressing poison worked. If it hadn't, it would have been boring. You'd be dead," she remarked. "What sounds worse than death?" Darui asked. "I don't know, but I think we're in for interesting times. Are you ready?" "I have no choice but to be," was Darui's reply. "Strongest shinobi since the Shodai," Shikamaru said without being asked, and Shino nodded in agreement. "Single-handedly changing how chakra manipulation is done," the Nara went on. Shino added, "Excellent swordsman and taijutsu expert, too, to really rub salt in the wound." "All this hard work just to punch an old man in the face?" Shikamaru asked, making Naruto's eye twitch. Shino said, "Abusing an elder is not okay, Naruto," which made Naruto finally answer. "I hate you both so very much," the Uzumaki said, his head in a cloud of sadness. He did not want to be at the Chunin Stadium. He didn't want to be here to fight the old man. But it seems that when summons fight, their summoners are expected to settle the matter. Naruto didn't feel there was much to settle. Bass does as she pleases, and Enma couldn't stop her because she didn't have the power to. But she didn't kill anyone, so no harm, no foul. The Monkey King and the former Hokage didn't agree. Well, Enma did. Hiruzen thought they could solve their problems by fighting. Naruto saw the point, and as much as he didn't like it, he knew that sometimes you just had to cross your fists to settle your differences and talk about it later. Still, Naruto was not interested in it. He'd dealt with and gotten over the hate he had for the old man. Even a lot of the hurt had gone. Nothing could change what Hiruzen did, how he chose his own vanity over Naruto. But they could get over that, and even though they'd never be close again, they could live together. No, the big problem that no bridge could solve was that Hiruzen and Sasuke both hated Orochimaru very much. And Naruto had made it clear which side he was on. There was no way to get back on good terms with someone who tried to kill or exile and hunt his future wife. But the old man kept on, and even Bass said Naruto should just do it, so here he was, with his jerk teammates, who were accused of abusing older people. "That guy could probably kick both of your asses," Naruto said as he put on his armor and got ready to enter the arena. Shino and Shikamaru exchanged the briefest of glances before Shino said, "You're still about to beat on a grandfather and retiree. Have I told you how much I hate you both?" he asked. The only answer he got was laughter, which made him even more angry. Naruto left the place where he changed and went to the battleground, where Hiruzen, Enma, and Jiraiya were waiting for him. Even though this decision had only been made a day before, word got out and the stadium was packed. Once Naruto got to where Jiraiya was, he bit his left thumb and slid blood down the summoning tattoo on his arm. Bass showed up in a hunter green cloak with gold trim when he slammed his hand down. "Oh, it's time to fight already," Bass said. "Yes," Naruto replied. She turned to leave, which confused her summoner, who let her know how confused he was. "Where are you going, Granny?" "Of course to sit down," was her answer. "It's not clear. Since you caused this, aren't you going to help me?" Naruto asked. "Naruto-chan, do you need my help?" she asked with a raised eyebrow. "That would be nice," said her summoner. Bass rolled her eyes, then kept going. Naruto tried not to yell by putting his face in his hands. "I think everyone who matters is here now," Jiraiya said. "This is a fight between summoners, but all Konoha rules apply. You can't kill or hurt the other person. And you, Naruto, can't use Biju Chakra or Sage Mode. No shadow clones, no wood clones, do the hokey pokey before I turn around." "Yes, Jiraiya, I already agreed to this," Jiraiya said, "and no dust release, you dummy." Because of where it was, Jiraiya's voice was picked up and sent to everyone there and to those in the village who were watching on a special feed. The Gama-sanin was confused when he saw his godson's face show anger for a moment. "Up until now, Jiraiya, no one knew I could do that but you." "Oh." Jiraiya goofed. "Huh." Naruto said, "Yep," and then he popped the P at the end. "How much will this set me back?" "Why, Godfather, I'm glad you paid for my wedding," Naruto said, sounding way too sincere for Jiraiya's taste. Jiraiya said, "Half." They didn't care that most of the village could hear them. "Okay," Naruto said, and he saw Jiraiya nod to say yes. "And then the other half." "You're all great, Godfather." Jiraiya said, "You're a con man." This made Naruto laugh for the first time today. Jiraiya lowered his head, and Naruto just shrugged. Jiraiya moved out of the way and said, "Ugh, fight." Hiruzen quickly makes a series of hand signs and sends an earth style called Earth Flow River toward Naruto. He did this because he thought Naruto wasn't ready. This was wrong, though, because when Naruto finished his hand signs, the technique stopped the mud river in its tracks and made the mud solid again. Naruto said, "Earth style, quick hardening. Maybe we should give up if an E-rank jutsu I made to keep my sandals clean can stop you." Hiruzen didn't listen to his grandson. Instead, he did another set of hand signs, took a deep breath, and let out a stream of flames. Naruto was also getting ready to use a jutsu when the fire-style, dragon flame bomb came at him. Wind-style, backdraft spear was a vacuum manipulation jutsu that he used to counter Hiruzen's fire technique. He took a breath a beat after Hiruzen and then used it a moment later. As the flame runs out of oxygen, it follows Naruto's tunnel of concentrated wind back to where it started. Hiruzen and Enma both rolled out of the backlash without getting burned, and they kept going in different directions. Naruto knew what they were trying to do, so he moved through more hand signs and went after Hiruzen to stop them. The dragon missile bombardment lava style came from the ground and looked like a dragon's head made of lava. It then shot out dozens of burning rocks. Even Hiruzen's mud wall couldn't handle the impact, so he had to move out of the way. Naruto sped toward Enma because he knew the old man was busy with something else. Enma didn't have time to be surprised when Naruto showed up in front of him because an uppercut to the middle of his body took his full attention. The second one was less thought out, but the chief summons still felt it. It knocked him off his feet. To stop the humiliation, his tail was grabbed and he was thrown at Hiruzen as if he were nothing but a bother. After a few rolls to spread out the force of his fall, the Monkey King was able to land on his feet and avoid any pools of lava left over from Naruto's distraction. Hiruzen asked Enma, "Are you okay?" without taking his eyes off Naruto. "The boy is strong," Enma said, still stunned by what had just happened. Hiruzen didn't give anything back. Many people in the crowd were shocked by the news before the fight in the first exchange. Rumors about who the honorable son might marry were at odds with the fact that he could use the famous dust release of the Nai and Sandame Tsuchikage. Ino, who is always talking about other people, wanted to find out what Shikamaru knew. Shino and he had joined the rookies in the stands, so Ino could talk to Shikamaru there. "You don't know?" Shikamaru asked. He hadn't thought it was a secret, but he sometimes forgot that Team Kurenai often acted as if they were in their own world. Most people didn't know what the hell they were doing, and that was how they liked it. Ino said, "Of course I didn't know. He hasn't been back that long yet, so who took him?" Shika said, "You almost sound disappointed." Ino shrugged and said, "I'm not looking to settle down or anything, but we could have had some fun." "So, who is it?" Tenten said, "Probably some simple girl who doesn't challenge him in any way, and goes weak in the knees when she sees Naruto-sama." Shino's forced laughter scared everyone, and as he lost control, he made them even more uncomfortable. Shikamaru soon gave out and joined his teammate. Even Kurenai let a few go. "Well, I don't know if I've called Orochimaru a basic bitch, but you can, Tenten," Shikamaru said, making the newbies pale. What? No," said the weapons mistress in shock. "Why do you nerds get all the hot girls?" Hiba asked in a mildly annoyed tone. Even though they didn't say it was the best, the other new shinobi had to agree. All of them were scared of Orochimaru, but she was a guaranteed snack. Temari and Teuya were both very attractive, and besides what Sasuke was doing with Sakura, none of them had a relationship with anyone else. Shino said it as if it were a scientific fact, an extra inch for every 10 IQ points over 130. 202, Shikamaru added. "Wait, Kakashi-sensei, that can't be true," Kiba said. 210, said the headache with a smile in his eye. His team started to sweat. When Naruto got back to the floor of the arena, he decided to go on the attack. The lava style, the magma river erupted from the ground and headed straight for Hiruzen. The Sandame moved through the seals for the water style, wild water wave. He was very calm for a Yaten technique he had never seen before. When the two jutsu met in the middle, they reacted to each other right away, fighting to see which one would have the longer lasting effect. The Suten jutsu was the winner because it quickly cooled the lava and made a lot of steam. Hiruzen had to move out of the way of Naruto's next attack, which was 6 shuriken that were as dark as night. The obsidian shuriken jutsu from the lava style was just a distraction. Hiruzen did a good job of dipping, ducking, and dodging the projectiles, but he ran right into a thin line of blue lightning. Naruto's lightning style, piercing fang hit right on, but he caught the uppercut coming from underground before he realized he had gotten rid of a clone made of mud. Naruto got rid of another clone of mud by striking out with his back fist. Now it was the Uzumaki's turn to avoid being hit by as many Fuma Shuriken as there were Sandame's Shadow Shuriken jutsu used on a distracted opponent. Naruto saw what he thought was the real location of Hiruzen and quickly made a plan. Naruto didn't want to move and fall into a trap, so he chose to stay put. Everyone in the crowd gasped as an impromptu forest grew right in front of them. It was one thing to hear that he could use the Mokuten, but it was something else to see it happen. The thick and strong trees were able to stop the Fuma Shuriken. Naruto got his own shuriken, but instead of throwing it, he turned it into a gunbai with his cotton. Naruto used one-handed signs to show how skilled he was. He then did the fire style, incinerator bullet, and used the wind from the gunbai swing to power the fireball. Hiruzen made another mud wall, but Naruto would not have a chance to see if it could stand up to his combined attack. Again, Enma chose to fight the Uzumaki with Taijutsu, likely because he thought he would have an advantage in the trees. Enma was all about aggression. He started with a leg sweep and then hit him with a roundhouse. He showed what years of practice could do by making attacks that didn't waste any motion or energy. But he couldn't get past his much younger opponent's defenses. If his attacks weren't blocked outright, they were deflected or avoided. Even when they were moving through the trees, Enma's attacks didn't work. When Enma became angry, he threw a straight right. Naruto grabbed the arm that was attacking him and put his leg over it. He then kicked Enma twice as he moved forward and backward. Naruto then pulled the Monkey King into a shattering left hook that sent the summons hurtling toward the ground. Instead of the hard impact he expected, he was caught by Hiruzen. "I'm on top, old man. Do you want to give up?" Naruto asked from his high place. As the crowd watched the mastery-level display of ninjutsu, one attendee was vocally more appreciative than others. "Yay, Cubby, kick that monkey's ass," Bast yelled, spilling some of her popcorn. Orochimaru and Tsunade laughed at the exuberant summons as she cheered on her summoner. "Enjoying yourself, Bast-sama?" Tsunade asked, knowingly. "Of course. And like I told Naruto, mate, chans you don't have to bother with that Sama stuff. I'll keep that in mind. What about you, Orochi? You could almost say this fight is about you, if you so wished," Tsunade finished with a teasing tone. Orochi rolled her eyes but didn't say anything because she was more interested in seeing if Hiruzen could get Naruto to show something new. Taking Orochi's silence as a challenge, Tsunade upped the stakes. "Or can't you even imagine a competition for your hand? I mean, who could compete? That's how true love works, you know." "You sound like an idiot, and if Koharu were here she'd agree with me," Orochi spat. "PFFT, she'd be on my side." "Don't feel bad, Orochi-chan. Love is great, right, Bast?" "Sure is. I'm thinking of taking another lover myself." Gave the last one a heart attack. "I put it on him so good." "That's not a small feat," said Orochi, who knew that game knew game. Elsewhere in the crowd, a genin who was torn was sitting. Konohamaru had no idea why his grandfather requested he go to the boss's house, but once there he did not like where things went. He was an exuberant and optimistic boy, but he was also smart. He knew he was one of the things that kept Naruto Oyabun from lashing out at his grandfather, and he could also tell he had no interest in this. He hoped his grandfather didn't push Oyabun too far. He really just wanted this over. When Naruto told Hiruzen to give up, Hiruzen said, "I think you underestimate me," and Asuma frowned. He knew what his grandfather wanted, but it was probably a few years and 3 plans too late. But, as was his way, the former Hokage couldn't be reasoned with. At Enma calling for blood, there was just simply no way he'd seek an alternate solution. Asuma didn't always get along with his father, but he didn't want him to get hurt. He also knew that Kurenai would be the one to call for blood if Naruto got hurt. The bearded Jounin refused to think about what Orochimaru might do. Reflex, habit, and trained response. No matter what it was, Naruto's lungs grew as they always did, this time filling with poisonous gas until he was ready to use his next jutsu. The ninja art, miasma, was as advertised. A poisonous gas fog was sprayed down from above the trees toward Hiruzen. Hiruzen used the earth style, earth rampart. He knew what the color of the chakra gas meant, but he wasn't used to using it in this way. The mountainous wall was supposed to put Hiruzen on the same level as Naruto, but the Uzumaki wouldn't let it happen. Several of his high-pressure water-style water lances cut into the rock and made it less stable. Hiruzen and Enma both fell into the fog and were no longer seen. Even though he thought the poison gas wouldn't kill him, the wise shinobi knew to hold his breath because he thought it would still hurt him. He signaled to Enma and the summons transformed to his legendary staff form, spinning over to Hiruzen. As the winds blew away the mist, Hiruzen started several powerful swings to catch his longtime partner. Now with some breathing room, Hiruzen took in the air and used a Katen jutsu to burn away the rest of the gas. Hiruzen saw the tri-pronged kunai land beside him. His mind told him to move, but his arms gained a sudden amount of weight and his legs lost their sturdiness. His reflexes slowed. His mind was still fast enough to realize the miasma acted as a contact poison. Holding his breath hadn't saved him. Soon, he was wrapped around a tree, and Naruto came out of it. He knew it was a genjutsu, but Jiraiya stepped in before he could begin to counter it. After a moment, when his chakra was messed up, he saw that he was really wrapped in a tree. He'd just experienced Naruto's ninja art, true tree binding death. The crowd cheered for the combatants, but Hiruzen felt empty. Things hadn't been settled because the battle hadn't been hard enough. He turned around when he felt a hand on his shoulder and saw Naruto standing there. Naruto told the old man. That was a better fight than Jiraiya usually gives me. You still have some kick, old man. More than you might think, Hiruzen said. Give me another chance, and I might surprise you. I'm sorry, Naruto, for everything the unspoken meeting. Naruto looked away for a brief moment as if unsure. We'll have to see, old man. No promises, Naruto said. I know, but that's not enough, Naruto expressed subtextually. Hiruzen nodded and Naruto returned to play up his win for the crowd. Hiruzen knew that he had to figure out what to do with Orochimaru if he wanted to have any kind of relationship with his former grandson. I'll do it. Alone, Naruto announced. All the people in the Hokage's office wanted to argue against it, but Naruto's next words stopped them. None of you truly know what it's like to have to earn your humanity in the eyes of others. True, you all have reputations for what you've done, but not for what you are. Finding those people that see you, really see you, takes the sting out of the constant rejection. It makes the air a little bit easier to breathe. Now, the three Sannin, the Sandame, and his two advisors were all drinking and sitting in his office. Ai's death felt like a huge change, but it might not have made any difference at all. Kumo could still declare war at some point to show how strong he is. If he does, Iwa is likely to side with them because Kumo would make more concessions. Kiri was still a mystery, and Suna would help Konoha. As the different ANBU groups fought their campaigns, things would get tense. Soon, the war before the war would begin. It would get out of hand and turn into skirmishes, with missions running into each other more than they had in a decade. Then, one important thing would happen or something valuable would be lost, and war would start. Wars are neither won nor lost. They are endured, regretted, and fought again, Hiruzen said. Tobirama-sensei told me that a week before he gave his life, he thought he had gotten away with it. That getting rid of the Akatsuki meant he would never have to think about war again. The room went quiet again, but it was clear that this was now a war council. I know we were all thinking it, and we were all waiting for Naruto to leave so we could talk about what to do with the Jinchuriki, Hamura said. They were here to keep Ai in line, but that's irrelevant now. Koharu replied, take out the Biju. That will be the price for Kumo's attempt on Tsunade's life and the failed invasion. Oh ho ho, pull them out, she says. Jiraiya answered with fake happiness. If it were easy, every village would do it, and we'd stop making Jinchuriki. You have two people who could potentially do that, and I'm sure neither of us will reseal a Biju into a tea kettle, let alone another person. Jiraiya knew he was on dangerous ground when he told the Hokage what he would and wouldn't do. But Naruto wasn't the only one who learned on their training trip. He knew why Minato did what he did, but the price was high, maybe too high, for a simple tactic. Now is not the time to be weak, said Hamura, ignoring Jiraiya's comment about how much skill was needed. If Naruto-kun says no, then the matter is over, Orochi said, and the threat was clear even though he didn't say it. That means we can't kill them because the Biju would come back and we can't assume they'll be as nice as the Kyuubi were. Jiraiya said, there's also the fact that you only have 5 active ninja who could kill Kurabi, and one of them, Guy, wouldn't make it through the fight. He was sure he could win, but most likely not without getting hurt badly. We can't just wait and see what happens, Koharu said. She didn't mean to criticize Hiruzen, but Konoha had offered friendship over and over again and been turned down. I agree, Tsunade said. We'll talk to Kumo's godame, Darui-san. While that's going on, we'll hit Iwa hard. I'll have Shikaku make a list of targets, and I want them to go back 10 years. That can only happen if Hiruzen didn't finish his sentence. No, Tsunade. Intelligence shows that Darui was in Iwa before the coup. Onoki clearly supported his play, if not suggested it. His removal is mission critical. Maybe the next generation can do a better job, but Onoki must go. Even if you get a list of necessary targets, who would you send? All ANBU teams will be focused on their own work, and we can't send an invasion force without Onoki noticing, Hamura said. Team Kakashi, Kurenai, and Asuma. They'll be given the list and told to stay behind enemy lines until the job is done. They'll have frontline fighters, intelligence gatherers, trackers, assassins, and 3 members who can kill a Sannin and get away without a trace. Daisuke will send a small unit of his own, and we'll work out the details when he arrives. Koharu said, even if they succeed, Onoki wouldn't have to leave the village because of that. Hiruzen frowned as soon as he figured out what Tsunade was up to. But the destruction of a large attack force that he is sure to send when he finds out that Konoha teams are working right under his nose may. That destruction may not only be led by Minato's only son, but it may also be done by him alone. Onoki will be furious. Tsunade, you are asking too much of him. It's the same as when you told us to fight Hanzo, the godame said in a calm voice. Hiruzen almost yelled back, there were 3 of you. Each of you is an adult and has been a ninja for more than a decade. I taught you, and you still failed. I don't have to explain my choices to you, Tsunade said as she gave her sensei a cold look. Don't plan on making Naruto your successor if you do this. No Kage sitting next to Gaara will trust him, and Iwa will hate him more than they hated Minato. The cycle will just start over. Then there shouldn't be any more Iwa. Maybe there shouldn't be any more Kumo, Orochi said in a serious tone. Just because these villages already exist doesn't mean they have to stay that way. If Tsunade's plan is so bad, why not get rid of Iwa? I won't be pregnant forever, so I'll destroy them. No mercy, no survivors. Kill everyone who stands in your way. If you ever wonder why I didn't choose you to be my successor, remember this conversation. I don't need any more examples of your cowardice, sensei. I've seen enough to last me several lifetimes. Hiruzen was so busy telling her not to be so cruel that it took a minute for her words to make sense. No, he cried out. Hyukuku, I'm sorry, but you can't force me to get rid of this one. And you shouldn't even try. The Sandaime was speechless and shocked. That's not the point, so if you could just pay attention, Tsunade told him. Hiruzen nodded, and Orochi did nothing but sit there and smile. Yujito said, you're lying. As Kurabi sat there in silence, Darui staged a coup and killed Aisama. Who in their right mind would believe that? Naruto said, I'm sorry, but I'm not. The older woman laughed, because laughing at yourself in front of the enemy was the better thing to do. You're sorry. Why? You wanted Aisama dead, which is why we're here in the first place. Why are you pretending to care? Yujito asked her fellow container as she shook with the urge to hit and kill him. He was to blame. Kind words and a gentle voice wouldn't change that, or anything else. If they had been there, this wouldn't have happened, and Darui wouldn't have even thought about it. But they were here, not there, and she put the blame on one person in particular. Because I know what it's like to lose someone who liked you and made you feel like you fit in. What could you know? You're the son of the Yondaime. You have no idea what it means to be accepted, Yujito insisted. In other situations, Naruto would have been annoyed by her arrogance, and he felt himself getting a little heated at her ignorance. But he couldn't bring himself to tell her she was wrong. There was no point to the argument. She didn't care much about Naruto's childhood because it wasn't important. She was in pain and wanted to get rid of it by blaming and fighting someone. Tell me then, Naruto asked. Yujito's eyes grew wide when he heard the soft words. Tell me about it, I'm interested. Yujito started to speak, but stopped herself. The Jinchuriki of the Nibai balled up her hands and took a deep breath. Before leaving their temporary home, she told Uzumaki, I won't let you use my past against me. Only Kurabi and Naruto were there, and the Kumo ninja's sunglasses made it hard to see what he looked like. I can still take you up on your offer, Kurabi-san, or I can leave. When the old man died, Big Brother was brought down and lost his spark. Selected to lead, had to play his part. Tried to stop 8 flows, but I float and sting like a pro. Good man doing bad things. And now he's in the throes of what death holds. A past from a present, forever frozen as death is cold. But alive in memories, stories I'll tell. Naruto thought this was an interesting question because he would never say he understood Kurabi's raps word for word. But he always felt like he knew what they meant. That's why he could say, yeah, I get it. Hiruzen said, she just doesn't know when enough is enough. He left the meeting upset, which was clear to everyone there, and Jiraiya went after him. Now that he was alone and getting close to the Sarutobi compound, Hiruzen began to get angry. To get pregnant, to catch Naruto. Were her teeth not deep enough, she'd involve an innocent child again. What would Minato think? He doesn't get a vote so it doesn't matter, Jiraiya said. He wasn't surprised by the angry and shocked look. But if his sensei cared so much about what Minato thought, Naruto's life would have been very different. It was time to deal with the way things were. Jiraiya, you need to stop, sensei. You think you can be friends with Naruto and still hate Orochi, but you can't. Even if you have a good reason to hate them, they are a family. They are even getting married in a month. And you haven't done anything to stop it, so you're paying for it. Of course I'm paying for it. I always have been, because I'm the boy's godfather. As for discouraging it, he's not a child who will blindly obey anyone. If I pushed, it would end up in a fight. And he'd do what he was going to do anyway. And not in the hospital for a meaningless gesture. But you push the kid enough to make him fight you seriously, and see how that goes. Even though he was an old man, Hiruzen still didn't like it when someone didn't give their all in a fight. It hurt his pride. He didn't care about it so he could keep talking. What kind of relationship do you think they have? Is Naruto constantly compromising himself to keep her interested? Even if he could, no child should be expected to do that. Children need love, patience, and guidance, which she can't give. What happens if she thinks the child is a disappointment and thinks a few experiments will fix what he or she may be lacking? You're not exactly a great example of a healthy relationship, sensei. As for the rest of it, your worries are mostly about your inability to see Orochi, and Naruto is more than the images you've frozen in your mind. He isn't some weak, easily manipulated boy, and she isn't the personification of evil. Hyukuku, why, thank you, Jiraiya, the voice without a body said. Jiraiya asked in a slightly annoyed tone, shouldn't you be somewhere else besides here? These two loved to pick each other apart, and even though the Cold War had calmed down, all it took was a little push to get it going again. Orochi laughed and said, don't worry, I'm just a copy. I didn't come to cause trouble. Hiruzen asked, what do you want? Don't tell me what you think about my possible mothering skills. If I cared about you or valued you at all, sensei, I might be hurt. Jiraiya asked, can you just say what you want to say? I have things to do. Yes, of course. I just wanted to let sensei know that I'm done. Done? Hiruzen asked. Hyukuku, yes, done. The game isn't even fun anymore. It's too much like kicking a defenseless, stupid, wrinkled, stupid old man. You called yourself stupid twice, Jiraiya said. Twice as stupid, Orochi said in response. So, if you have a big plan, it won't work. If you're waiting for me to do something, I'm not. I win, and I'm going out on top. Hiruzen said, no one believes that, and I'm not going to be fooled by your lies. She couldn't give up her games because they were a big part of who she was and how they worked together. Hiruzen felt something churn when she laughed for real and got angry when she was made fun of. Fine, sensei. You stay on high alert, and I'll live my life while you waste what's left of yours. It's fitting that you'll die a bitter old fool, she said between laughs. After giving her message, the clone went away. Jiraiya looked at his old teacher and saw that the man looked hollow and defeated. It must have thrown him off, which Hiruzen must have seen when he looked at him. The old man said, she wasn't meant to win, and she doesn't get to win. I don't see why you wouldn't want it or why you'd be against it. Her win has her working for the protection and betterment of the village. It's basically the will of fire, which you said she stepped on. If you value it so much, you should be happy with this outcome. If not, you just look obsessed with a woman you rejected but thought would never move on. Hiruzen quickly said, I am nothing like that. To accuse him of such a voyeuristic reason was way too much. I've seen it before. You'd be in good company as far as scumbag behavior goes. Maybe I'm wrong, but it seems like you need to be the center of her world and hate that you aren't. It's not a good look, sensei. The two men continued to walk in silence, one fuming over what his students had said and the other hoping he was finally heard. The real Orochi didn't show any reaction when she got her memories because she was too happy to care about her sensei's suspicions. She was lying on the couch with her future husband, which is what they liked to do when they had the whole compound to themselves. The Uzumaki Manor was empty because Karin was at the hospital and Teuya was with the other members of the Sound Five, so the two of them decided to enjoy it while they could. Many people might be surprised to learn that Orochi started this, not Naruto. She would say it was just an experiment, but that may surprise some people. Naruto took a look at the clock on the wall while he was cuddled up and very comfortable. Even though it was still early, they probably should have made plans before it got too late. He asked, Orochi-chan, do you want to stay home tonight or do you want to go out? I don't have a strong opinion either way. You? Same. They heard someone say, I could use some dango, which made Naruto groan. He really liked Anko, but she was weird and pretty much lived with them now, even though she had her own place and was almost 30. Then go get dango, because no one can stop you, Naruto said. He heard her come into the room and sit down at their coffee table with her hand out and her eyes on Naruto. Anko said, I could use some Ryo, Naru Papa, as if Ryo were the very definition of innocence. Naruto asked, you're a special jounin, so why are you always broke? He didn't care about the name because, as a crazy person, he thought it was appropriate since he was marrying her sensei. It didn't make any sense, but if he responded, she wouldn't stop. When it came to the loan, he thought Anko was on the best drugs. She made more than him because she was a senior at the same level as him, but he also made a good living. She didn't want or need his money, and she wasn't going to get it. Don't be like that, I do fine, but I don't have money in my clan account. Just give some Ryo to Anko, and I'll leave you alone. Naruto looked down at his girlfriend, but he could see that she was having fun, so he didn't try to stop her. He rolled his eyes at her smile, and it seemed like everyone else did the same. No, there's a kitchen full of food, a garden, and the most varied orchard you've ever seen. Just eat something here, you need some variety in your diet. Anko rolled her eyes. She didn't just eat dango, it was her favorite food, and he could have gone back to cuddling her already if he'd just given her some money. I don't want variety, I want dango. Then go get some, you have nothing to lose. Money please. Hyukuku, I'd really like some grilled eel, said Orochi. Fine, let me. But I don't want to leave, he said. Naruto just buried his head in the crook of her neck and muttered that Shikamaru was right. She tried hard not to laugh when he gave up and accepted his fate. I'm going to go get everything I need to make all this, but you, Anko-chan, are going to help me. If I have to bribe you with dango, I'm not going to roll all those things out by myself. Wait, you can make dango, don't you? Naruto asked incredulously, even though it wasn't hard at all. No, I don't. I buy the dango and eat it. Naruto looked at Orochi and asked, how much do you really care about her? Very, said the white snake. Naruto said, that's troublesome. Well, I'm going, and he kissed Orochi on the cheek. Anko jumped when she saw it, and Naruto tapped her on the thigh and said, shut up, you, as if he were embarrassed. Naruto put on his sandals and was out the door in no time. Anko stopped laughing when she was stuck in the air and couldn't reach anything or get down. What the hell is this? It looks like Naruto-kun was having fun with Jitten. Anko-chan, Orochimaru said in a calm voice as she reached for a book nearby. Anko asked her sensei, as she hung helplessly in the air, aren't you going to help me out here? Orochi looked at Anko over the top of her book and asked, why would I do that? Anko looked at her as if the answer was obvious, so the snake san and laughed. Maybe the next time you come home and find us cuddled up on the couch, you'll be smart enough to go do something else. Take this as a lesson, huh? Oh, come on, sensei, Anko yelled, his arms flailing around in the air. She looked like a child having a temper tantrum, which made Orochi laugh even more. Minato said, hello, son, and he meant it. Naruto took a look around, not sure where he was. It looked like a nice but simple apartment. His father was sitting in a blue chair that matched the couch he was lying on. Naruto was confused and asked, is this a dream? Bagheera said that the elixir he drank would help him figure out his problems, but he wasn't sure if a dream would do the trick. No, it wasn't a dream. It looks like your summons have an interesting link to the Pure Land, but I wouldn't say I fully understand it. It sure beats the Shinigami's stomach, though. When Naruto woke up and looked at his father, the fourth Hokage, everything seemed strange. He wanted to know so much and had so many things to ask. He didn't know how long he was going to be here, so it was hard for him to get his thoughts in order. He felt his chest tighten as his mind raced. He had too much to think about and probably not enough time. Minato had closed the distance between them so quickly that Naruto felt an arm on his shoulder. Just breathe, son. Just breathe, he said. Naruto nodded and started to do that slowly. When Minato saw his only child start to calm down, he smiled. When Naruto calmed down, he asked the question he'd been dying to ask since he was a kid. Why him? Why? Why use the death seal of the Reaper? Why did he give up his life? When the Kyuubi was released from your mother, despite everything I did to stop it, I took it as a sign when I found out Madara Uchiha was to blame. The world would need someone with more power than any of the Hokage to fight such a threat, and if you could use the Kyuubi's strength, that person could be you. I thought you were the child Jiraiya had talked about. If you couldn't stop Madara, what stopped him from coming to get me when I was a child? You put a target on my back. What kind of parent does that? Not a very good one, Minato joked, but in my defense, I'd only been one for a few minutes. Seeing that his joke wasn't working, Minato changed his approach. I knew your life would be hard because of your status. I didn't think Hiruzen would let Danzo do what he did or steal from your inheritance. I just thought you'd be able to get through those hard times and become something special. Suffering doesn't make you special, it just makes you suffer. I was alone and you did that to me. You sent me to hell and you think you did a good and noble thing. You're just like Jiraiya and the old man. You talk a good game, but in the end you didn't want Konoha to not have a Jinchuriki and sacrificed your kid in the process. Ito, too, not just Jiraiya and Hiruzen. Minato felt bad and looked down. He was always sure of what he was going to do, and that was what helped him move forward. But seeing Naruto in pain and hearing the anger in his voice hurt more than anything the Kyuubi could do. But Naruto was wrong about one thing, and Minato wanted him to know. I didn't seal half of the Kyuubi in you for the village. Your mother hated being a Jinchuriki. She didn't know what was going to happen to her until long after she arrived. She never fully forgave Mito or Hiruzen for that, for taking her away from her family for a village that wasn't hers, even if it did save her life. The Kyuubi being released was a disaster. There's no other way to put it, and I didn't think any ninja could fight someone who could do that without a lot of help. I thought Jiraiya and Kakashi would be a regular part of your life. I thought Hiruzen's will of fire would cover my son without exception. I thought so many things that turned out not to be true. I'm sorry, Naruto. Sorry that my belief wasn't the wind in your sails but a boulder on your back. Sorry for the pain I caused you. And I'm so sorry that you see my last actions as me being a Hokage instead of a father. So much can be blamed on the chaos of the night, on knowing Kushina was going to die and not being able to save her. But it wasn't fair to put so much weight on you, especially when I still believe in you, son. But I won't hold you to an unfair expectation, and I won't burden you with that prophecy. No matter what you do from now on, I'll always love you. All I ask is that you be the best man you can be. And when you have a child, be a better parent to them than I was to you." Naruto's eyes were big and wet as he looked at his father. He was at a loss for words. Even though he hadn't lied, some of his anger about recent events was misplaced, and his dad had already apologized. Others always had a reason for what they did. And even though his father explained his reasons, it didn't seem like he expected Naruto to forgive him, just understand why he did what he did. He felt seen in a way he hadn't before. This was something he hadn't felt before. He felt lighter, he felt good. "I guess I can forgive you, but don't seal anything else into me," Naruto joked, but his laugh was hoarse. Minato said, "I'll give it a shot." The two would talk for what seemed like hours about everything from Fuinjutsu theory to childhood misadventures to anything else they could think of. Even though their time together was too short, Naruto was able to fix a part of himself that he didn't even know was broken. Even Minato's last words helped the Jinchuriki, who was a teenager, feel better. If you ever start to doubt yourself or feel like you've lost your way, know that your mother and I are rooting for you, so keep going, Naruto. You have so much more potential than you realize, and it would be a shame to stop now. When you think you've hit a wall, go harder. When you think you've run out of road, go further. Only then will you know what kind of ninja you want to be. Naruto-kun. Orochi's voice brought Naruto back to the present. He was taken back to the land of the Panthers and put in the grotto there. He smiled at his soon-to-be wife. They were getting married in just one day. The slight breeze inside the cave blew her wrap-around skirt, and her purple halter top, which went with it, showed just the tiniest bit of a baby bump. She asked, "Where did you go?" "I was just thinking about the time I met my father, which shouldn't have been possible since he was stuck in the Shinigami's stomach. Unless someone freed him. Do you have any ideas about how that could have happened?" "Don't be shy, Naruto-kun. Yes, I freed him by using the right mask in the temple. I used someone who was going to be killed anyway, so no innocent people were hurt." Naruto wrapped his arms around Orochimaru and looked into her citrine eyes. "Thank you for making it possible for us to meet at the right time." She wrapped her arms around him and said, "Anything for you." Naruto returned the gesture, but he didn't think about it. His body just moved. Bast asked as he walked into the grotto, "You just can't stay away from her, Naruto-chan. Should we expect a lot of new summoners soon?" Naruto gave the oldest panther a roll of the eyes. He thought it, and he was right, there were no holy ceremonies. Bast was wrong. He didn't care because they had thrown him and Orochi a very fun party, but she could have just said that. "Granny, we don't really think about the next one." "That's smart," said Bagheera. He asked the young man he had helped raise, "Are you ready to go back to Konoha?" "Yes, this has been great, but the others have something planned for us tonight, so we have to go back." "Hyukuku, you don't sound excited, Naruto-kun." "No, I'm not. If it were just Shika and Shino, I'd be overjoyed. But all the teams from my generation being there, Naruto said. He knew how politics worked, so he didn't say anything, but they weren't his friends. Such are the costs of trying to find the hat. I'm sure everything will work out." Naruto didn't answer, but he nodded to Bagheera, who took them back to the village. As soon as the couple walked into their house, they heard a noise in the back. "It looks like your party is already going," said Orochi. Naruto gritted his teeth and nodded. He said it in jest, "Don't have too much fun tonight." "I think I'll make it," said Orochi dryly. "Now, stop stalling and go greet your guests. I'll leave as soon as my bodyguards arrive." She said this with a sarcastic tone when the Sound Five were mentioned. It wasn't that she didn't trust them, but she thought it was funny that she needed protection. Naruto was very confident in her skills, but he strongly disagreed with her. He wouldn't say anything, though, if she let them follow her anyway. After the usual farewell kiss, he went to the back of the manor. Naruto yelled a few people. He was the last one there, which made him feel bad. The Uzumaki were sorry, but they all told him to leave. Choji was working the grill, so Naruto decided to do something nice for him while also hosting an event where the Akimichi didn't cook. He talked to everyone, but he spent a little more time with one person. As he shook the hand of his fellow Jinchuriki, Naruto asked the Kazekage-sama, "What are you doing with this group of rogues and criminals?" Gaara replied with a perfect deadpan, "I'm sleeping on the street for the night. I guess I shouldn't be too surprised, since you spend a lot of time with Kankuro." Kankuro yelled "Oi!" as a joke, but the containers didn't care. "Thanks for coming out tonight, Gaara. I won't let anything happen that could hurt your reputation, so just chill out and have fun." Jiraiya yelled Naruto to get the attention of his godson. Once he did, he walked up to him and threw him a bottle of sake. "Listen, I got Minato drunk at his bachelor party, and I won't break with tradition, so get ready to drink with the Toad Sage tonight." Naruto hit Jiraiya with a swing from the bottle to make her happy. He might have been tense for no reason. He had a second drink and decided to chill out. Orochi went to her own party at a local spa. As soon as she got there, she was hit with a tiara and a sash that said bride. If Koharu hadn't said it was a tradition, she would have burned both items. The women in her group included Tayuya and Karin, as well as the usual Kunoichi women. Tsunade didn't have any stupid games planned, so Orochi could get her nails done and pedicure without too much trouble. Where she was before Tsunade called everyone's attention to herself. Listen up, everyone. As you all know, tonight is Orochi last chance night as a single person, though I doubt she cares much about it. Yours was not a straight or easy road. Mistakes were made, by you and others, but you found your way back. And now look at you, future wife and mother. I'm so happy for you, truly. When Tsunade finished her speech, there was a round of applause. Orochi thanked her best friend without speaking. She would normally be turned off by such an emotional display, but she could make an exception for Tsunade, her sister. After the parties had gone on for hours, Tsunade and Orochi walked back to the Senju compound. Well, I didn't have a good time to tell you this, but while you and Naruto were gone, something came in, Tsunade said. Onoki sent a proposal for a treaty, which was an agreement to defend each other. Orochi said, that's not worth the paper it was written on. I agree, but we're stuck. If I let the preemptive strikes go on, Konoha will look bad, and Iwa and Kumo will have a reason to attack us for starting a war. Let them. We have a clear advantage with Suna and Oto. Just beat them up and be done with it, we'll get the contracts back. Perhaps you're probably right, but, I don't know, maybe there's a way to turn this around, make it so that Onoki has to follow the agreement, and get Kumo to negotiate a real peace treaty. Either way, you two get to go on a real honeymoon, so that's a plus. Orochi's only warning was to Tsunade, don't let what you want to happen get in the way of what needs to happen. Soon, the two showed up and made themselves at home for the night. The morning came quickly because everyone in the village was busy getting ready for the wedding of the Snake Sannin, and the honorable son and head of the Uzumaki clan. Even though it was crazy, it was worth it. Orochi went for a traditional style by putting her hair in a bun and adding purple pansies to it. Her red Orochi cake had purple and gold snakes and a number of flower designs on it. Naruto wore the traditional wedding clothes, but he put all of his spikes into one high ponytail. Before family, friends, and other people they knew, the couple said their vows and then went to the reception. It was a beautiful and memorable day for the couple, and as Naruto teleported them to their destination in Moon Country, a lot of people wished them well. The two couldn't have known that the day was going to be memorable for the wrong reasons. 20,000 Iwa and Kumo ninjas would have marched on Fire Country, overwhelming the border guards. The plan was to force Naruto to fight against the huge army with whatever help he could find. Back in the village, Han and Roshi were supposed to do a lot of damage, possibly kill some high-ranking ninja, and work with Yujito and Karabi to wreck as much of Konoha as they could before running away. Onoki was sitting in his office thinking about the plan he had put off. Even though the peace treaty was fake, it would keep the image-conscious Konoha from doing anything dangerous. He turned to see who else was in the room. There was no trust between them. They just agreed that their interests were similar, but Onoki would not hesitate to attack if things went wrong. You better hope you're right, Zetsu-san. I am. And you and I will get everything we want in just a few months.
So this was it for today. I will continue this series in next part. Till then, we weeb offline.